Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku became the target of secrets part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵𝗵. So let's start the video. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. The staff in the room turned to the doorway. There, a tired-looking man with long, black hair stood. There was a long strip of gray cloth wrapped around his neck. He looked tired. But for those who knew him, there was more to his gaze. He looked concerned. The sound of a chair being pushed away. A quick pattering of small feet. A few moments later, a small rodent, mouse, bear, appeared from around the desk, appearing a few feet away from the man's feet. "What is it, Mr. Aizawa?" "Nothing troublesome, I hope?" The man Aizawa sighed. "Quite the opposite. Unfortunately." He moved to the side. Behind him stood a petite boy with his hands behind his head, rocking on his heel. But what was stranger was the black blindfold he wore over his eyes, semi-long, ebony hair covering the silky fabric at the back of his head. Despite not being able to see his eyes, he looked disinterested, bored, even. Despite not being able to see his eyes, he looked disinterested, bored, even. But add a blindfold. "Oh, a new student?" 𝗧𝗵𝗲 raised a paw into the air. "Where did you find him, Mr. Aizawa?" The boy stepped forward, dropping his hands to clasp them behind his back. He leaned forward to seemingly peer at the principal. A mouse? You're so cute. You're the big boss of this place, right?" His voice was higher than expected. Sweeter, more saccharine. Like a boy who hadn't been through puberty yet. "That's right." 𝗧𝗵𝗲 seemed unperturbed. "I'm the principal of UA Academy. This is a hero academy." The boy paused. He straightened, tapping a finger on his chin. "Heroes, huh? Don't know much about them. I found him loitering around school grounds when I was patrolling." Aizawa sighed, cutting in. His fingers itched. He wanted to retreat to his sleeping bag. "I don't know how he got through security. Hound Dog didn't smell him either." The boy perked up. "Oh, that? I just figured out how to mask my presence. Quite easy, you know. Also, do you mean the big wall around the campus? I popped right past it." He ended his statement with a peace sign and an easygoing grin. "Is that so?" 𝗧𝗵𝗲 said. He cocked his head. "What an interesting development. I didn't know such a thing was possible. UA is considered one of the most secure places in the country, other than Tartarus. It is a school for top heroes, after all. May I ask why you were here?" The boy sighed. "Wah, don't remind me. One small slip-up and the higher-up stationed me here. Good thing they did, though. Second I stepped inside, I could sense curses all over the place. Took care of one before this guy told me to shove off. Politely, though. I'll give him that. His hair does a weird flowy thing, though. What's up with that?" "Curses?" The boy nodded. He reached into his clothing, a strange combination of dark blue pants and collared shirt with gold buttons, and pulled out a letter with a red string tied around it from his sleeve. "From the higher-ups." He handed it to 𝗧𝗵𝗲. He peeked at the front, where a pink sticky note, 𝗬𝗂𝗁𝗂𝐶H, greatly contrasted the traditional letter, which had the words, 𝗧/N Suzume, please, for Buddha's sake, behave. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 pocketed the letter. 𝗧/N Suzume? Huh? A strange name for a boy. This situation is more dire than I thought. But I believe I understand your intentions." He nodded to himself. "It's decided. 𝗧/N Suzume will be enrolled in Class 1A for the time being. I will handle the paperwork, so not to worry." At this, a man in a trench coat stood up from his chair, which clattered to the ground behind him. "Principal 𝗧𝗵𝗲, with all due respect, we cannot let this boy into our school. He showed up completely unannounced. How can we trust him?" 𝗧𝗵𝗲 shook his head. "No. He too, just like us teachers, has a job. I believe that he will do no harm to our students. Quite the opposite, actually. But I do understand your suspicions, 𝗧𝗏. As such, the boy will be on constant surveillance for the first few weeks. We must evaluate his intentions ourselves." At that, 𝗧𝗏 sighed. He righted the chair and sat back down, resigned. "Fine. I shall trust your decision." Starting next week, 𝗧𝗏 will join his classmates in 1A. Is that all right with you, Aizawa? Aizawa turned to face Nizu from where he lay in his yellow sleeping bag. Wordlessly, he stepped out, rolling up the bag and putting it away as he replied, "Whatever. At this point, I don't think one more will make much of a difference." He turned to 𝗧𝗏, "Follow me. I'll show you to your temporary living quarters. By the way." A woman with cat-eye glasses leaned forward in her seat. She fluttered her eyelashes suggestively as she asked, "What's your quirk, boy? You must have a strong one if you just waltzed into our grounds." The boy turned, stopping as he followed Aizawa out of the room. "Quirk?" He thought for a moment, then laughed. The sound filled the room. "What's that?" "So mysterious. I love it. Kayama, please. I'm not sorry. Hey guys, I heard there's a new student in the hero course starting today." "Whoa, really? Class A or B? Is she hot? How do you know they're gonna be a girl? Is he hot? Shut up, you extras." Well, judging from the new layout of the classroom, a boy with green hair and freckles looked around. "I'm guessing they're joining us. Why else would there be an extra desk?" "Wow, Deku, you're so smart." Deku turned a bright shade of red. No, I just yeah, he's just dumb. Kachin, that's mean." "Whatever, nerd. Why aren't you in your seats?" The dark-haired teacher took a step into the room. The class scrambled. Before his next foot had made contact with the ground, all 20 students were sitting at their seats, staring back at him with curious eyes. Well, most of them. Katsuki Bakugo couldn't care less about the new extra joining the class. He tapped his pencil impatiently against his desk. He could feel his annoyance growing as the nerd in front of him started mumbling under their breath. "New student. I can't believe it. The school year's already started too. Does that mean they got a recommendation?" "Mr. Aizawa." For Eyes stood up from his seat. "Good morning." Aizawa paused at the front desk. He stared for a moment, before nodding. "Morning, class rep." He took out a book from under the desk. "All right, turn to page Mr. Aizawa." He sighed as a different student stood up from his seat. "Kirishima. What is it?" "We have a new student joining our class today, right? Where is she?" Or he. He flailed. "It doesn't matter if she's a guy or a girl, but I bet they're manly either way." Aizawa frowned. "Oh right, I forgot about that." The class deadpanned. "He forgot? You can come in now." With that, 𝗧𝗏 stepped into the room. He wore UA's uniform and had a lollipop in his mouth. As he turned to face the class, he took it out of his mouth and tossed the stick into the garbage. He grinned, raising a hand in a slight wave. "Ohio." He drew out the word. "I am 𝗧𝗏. Just call me that. No need for formalities. I'll be in your class from now on, I guess." "Whoa, why do you think he's wearing a blindfold? Does it have something to do with his quirk?" "Shucks, it's a boy. Thought we would get a new girl for sure." "Shut it, Mineta. Quiet." Immediately the class ramblings came to a stop as their teacher's eyes began to glow. "So, do I just take the empty seat?" Aizawa's hair fell back into place. "Suzume. Right. Just sit down." "Okay." He walked over to the back and sat down in the seat next to another boy with dual-colored hair. As Aizawa began to talk, 𝗧𝗏 turned towards him. "Oya," he frowned when the boy didn't move. "Todoroki." The boy flinched at his name. He turned towards 𝗧𝗏. "You know my name?" "Of course I do. I read your file. Came here late, but I thought I needed to at least know everyone's names. Save the introductions, you know?" He stared at her, confused. "The school let you do that?" "Uh-huh." 𝗧𝗏 cocked his head. "Huh, that's a bad scar you got there." At that, Todoroki really was at a loss for words. "Not saying it's a bad thing. Seeing you now, I feel like your face would look really plain without it. I have a friend who says that scars are like badges of honor. Seriously though, why don't you just heal it?" Todoroki stayed silent, staring at her with his eyes slightly narrowed. "Ha, you're a guy of few words, right? Don't think that's gonna stop me from being your friend though. Also, why are we whispering? We're in the middle of class." "Oh, right." 𝗧𝗏 turned back to the front, his small smile still present on his face. Todoroki stared at his new-found friend for a few more moments before turning to pay attention to Aizawa once again. He didn't come here to make friends. He knew that. But still, maybe it would be all right to make just one, right? He stole one more sneaky peek at his new neighbor. Huh. So he could still see under that blindfold? Collision bomb, collision bomb. It was lunch, which was actually more important than 𝗧𝗏𝗏 had initially thought. He'd gotten a small meal, one that comprised of 2 salmon roe onigiri, a bowl of miso soup, and a small serving of tamagoyaki. The hero that had served the lunch, his name was Lunch Rush, was surprised at the simple request, but 𝗧𝗏𝗏 had just answered, food is food. But the reason it was important was because of one thing. Seating arrangements. Everyone had a designated table. It showed which friend group you were a part of, your social group. Class 1A was no exception. There were mainly 2 tables, which were divided between 2 classmates, Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. The others flitted between other tables. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 peered over the heads of students, spotting Todoroki sitting beside Izuku. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shrugged. Blasty boy can wait. He headed over to their table. Got room for one more? 5 heads turned to face her. A girl with pink cheeks nodded quickly. Uraraka Achiko. Her picture flashed in 𝗧𝗏𝗏's mind. Sure. Of course. We can make room, Tsu. Do you mind moving over? Okay. Just give me a sec, Ribbit. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 set down his tray, sitting across from Todoroki, who stared at her as he slurped on his soba noodles. Beside him was Midoriya, who looked like he was about to burst out of his seat. He looked excited, for some reason. His bowl of katsudon in front of him half-eaten. Oya, you alright? At his question, Midoriya nodded his head quickly. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 Deku headbanging gif here. And 𝗧𝗏𝗏 couldn't help but laugh. Uraraka was poking her mochi with her chopsticks beside her, smiling happily as she popped a piece into her mouth. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 glanced between the two of them. They were kinda similar, weren't they? I just have a lot of questions. Like, how come you started school so late? And why do you have a blindfold? I was thinking it had something to do with your quirk, but you seem to be able to see just fine. So, is it just an accessory or something? Also, do you have a quirk? What is it? Can you show me? Also, Midoriya, please slow down. You might overwhelm our classmate with your questions, as insightful as you are. To Midoriya's left was 𝗧𝗏𝗏. He spoke with his arms moving up and down in a strange, robotic way. Sorry about Midoriya. Ribbit. Tsuyu Azui spoke out. He's a bit of a hero nerd. He really likes learning about quirks and stuff. Ribbit. Yes. The boy pulled out a lined notebook out from seemingly nowhere. It seemed old, by the looks of its battered cover. Number 13. He had 12 more of those? So, can you tell me what your quirk is? There it was. That word again. Quirk? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 laughed. You know, you're not the first person to ask me that. How about this? Take a guess. Midoriya paused. Guess? He thought for a moment, lowering his notebook. Well, I guess it's not a mutant quirk. A transformation quirk seems unlikely, but it's not out of the question. He slunk in his seat, his eyebrows furrowing as he began muttering away. Class 1A is a really funny group, aren't they? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 thought. Alright, by the way, what are we supposed to do tomorrow? Something about hero training? Oh, yeah. Mr. Aizawa did give us a heads up about that, didn't he? Uraraka mused. She swallowed her piece of mochi. Sorry, but your guess is as good as ours. Mr. Aizawa is always really vague about our lessons. He usually doesn't even tell us what we're doing until the day of. Doesn't really give us time to prepare. Really? Why do you ask? I just don't want to be behind. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shrugged. Oh, right. Is it okay if I borrow your textbooks for a day? Just a day. I want to read over everything. Make sure I'm at least not clueless during class. Across the table, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 nodded, hand-chopping once in response. It is admirable that you want to do your best in your studies. As class representative, it is my duty to help a classmate. You can borrow mine. I'm already finished today's homework. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 laughed. Wow, really that fast? Really though, you don't have to be so intense. That's just how he is, Ribbit. You'll get used to it. The next day, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 walked with Todoroki to class. Or, he followed him. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 didn't say much, which Todoroki appreciated. When people talked to him, he felt compelled to comply, but it always ended with awkward silence. Mustering up the courage, he voiced a question that had been at the back of his mind ever since the two had met up at the school gate that morning. "What's with the bag?" 𝗧𝗏𝗵 turned to him, smiling. It was strange, not seeing his eyes as he talked. He had been so used to seeing full faces, minus shoji, that he had misjudged how important it was to see someone's eyes. His mother had always said that the eyes were the window into the soul. That's why he could never tell what 𝗧𝗏𝗵 was thinking, because he always covered them. Oh, this? I borrowed Ida's books yesterday. Did some reading. Are you guys really still on the Heian era chapter? Yes. Mississippi Midnight is supposed to go material from the old curriculum before beginning the modern hero history curriculum. It's been adapted because quirks haven't really been around long. Makes sense. It's already been a week into school by now, though. Todoroki watched the boy closely. Did you not find it confusing? There is a lot of dates to remember. I overheard Ishido talking about how it's even hard for her to remember the order of the eras. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 shook his head. Nope. He raised his hands to the ceiling, stretching. Didn't find it hard at all. I already knew pretty much everything, so I went through it fast. Before he could ask anything more, they had already reached the classroom. Well then, let's work hard today too, Todoroki. With that, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 kicked open the door. Ida, I got your books. Todoroki never understood how one person could have so much energy. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 gave off similar vibes. Was that the word? To Kirishima, but something was different. It didn't feel genuine, sometimes, and his smile was kind of unsettling. I hope you studied well. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 nodded, handing over the bag. He had been waiting at 𝗧𝗏𝗵's desk. Don't worry, class rep. Stayed up all night looking through them. You take great notes, by the way. Very insightful. Ida's eyes widened behind his glasses. All night? 𝗧𝗏𝗵, I applaud. Your enthusiasm for our curriculum, but I must remind you to have sufficient amounts of sleep every night. As students of such a prestigious school, we must be excellent scholars on top of being heroes. The blindfolded boy shrugged. All right, whatever you say, Ida. All right, by the way, he pointed to the bag. Open it. A look of confusion came over the boy's face, but he did as he was told. He pulled out a bag made of colored paper and peered inside. Is this Kikufukumachi? At this, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 grinned. As expected of our class rep, of course you would know of Sendai's specialty treat. It's delicious. One of my favorites for sure. Ida chuckled at his classmate's enthusiasm for the dessert. He pulled out the sizable box, his eyebrows raising. I've heard this shop is quite famous too. I once visited the shop with my brother, but the line was atrociously long. How did you get your hands on it? Uraraka peered over Ida's shoulder. It's mochi. She brightened at seeing the food. I'll share some with you, Uraraka. Oh, you really don't need to, but thanks. I went yesterday. After class. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 shrugged. Ida stared at her. After class? Sendai is hours away from here. I'm sure you took the first train there? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 shook his head. Nope. He sat down at his desk. I walked. You walked? The words were said in synchrony by the black and brown-haired student, but one more as well. Ishido? You were listening? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 turned. Mina Ishido, a girl whose quirk allowed her to secrete acid from her body. A formidable power. Her cursed energy was nothing to gawk at, though. She was pretty, in her own way, with her fair, pink skin and 2 yellow horns that poked out of a head of voluptuous curls. The girl giggled sheepishly. Sorry guys, I couldn't help it. But seriously, Ishido turned to 𝗧𝗏𝗵. You walked? That would have taken, like, days and you made a round trip. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 laughed awkwardly. Yeah, and I may have taken a few detours. He grinned amicably as he recalled the 3rd-grade curse he had found loitering around the mochi shop. There was no way he would let such a foul thing ruin the taste of his precious mochi. Its blood had gotten all over his shoes, though. You're insane. Wait, Sendai is approximately a 4-hour train ride from here. To walk would take around a day and a half, especially because you need to take a ferry if you didn't take a train. Then to come back, that would be around 3 days. Not to mention the line, which would be an hour wait at least. Could it be your quirk has something to do with teleportation? Midoriya asked, bright eyes. 𝗧𝗏 almost felt bad. Nope. Midoriya's shoulders dropped and he sighed. Wrong again. He straightened, a determined look coming over his face. That's okay though. I swear I'll figure it out. 𝗬𝗧𝗏 giggled, leaning closer to the boy. You're so enthusiastic about this, Deku. 𝗧𝗏 raised an eyebrow. Deku? Like, Dek? 𝗬𝗧𝗏 froze like a statue. Oh, about that, it's weird, I know. I used to be called Deku for a long time, even as a kid, and I always thought it was an insult. But 𝗬𝗧𝗏 helped me realize that it meant something different. So I made it my hero name. Hehe. 𝗧𝗏 gave the brown-haired girl a pointed look, watching her turn a steady shade of red. Oh really? That's interesting. With that, the three went to their seats and sat down, just as Aizawa entered the room. He wasted no time in explaining what the lesson was for that day, and then left. It was clear what he meant as he sludged, albeit rather quickly, out of the room. Follow me. 𝗧𝗏 thought for a moment. USJ, huh? Oh wait, I know where that is. It's the simulation room. That should be fun. I'll meet you guys outside. With that, the boy walked over to the open window, swung a leg over the edge, and hopped out. It had happened so fast no one had time to react. Oh my god, 𝗧𝗏? Hagakure squealed. Wajiro hurried over to the ledge. He peered down. Oh, he's okay. He's waving back up at me. He leaned back and turned back to the rest of the class. We should go now. Dude, did you see that? We're 2 floors up. Yeah, I know. Shitty hair. Get out of my face. Right, sorry, man. Stop apologizing. Right. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Wait, Daff. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. The class met up once more in the front of the school. With that, they began walking as a group to the training center. The walk was long and boring, and with that, the students began to make small talk with each other to pass the time. Hey Jairu, you play guitar, right? Do you think you can teach me sometime? I want to play some sick riffs. The girl in question had earphone jacks dangling from her ears. She gave the blonde boy a strange boy, but upon seeing the genuine expression on his face, she sighed. All right, we'll have to do lessons after school though. And where would we go? I doubt my dad would appreciate me bringing a boy home. 𝗧𝗏 listened to their conversation with vague interest. Oh, another ship? He laughed to himself. What are you laughing about, extra? He turned. Katsuki Bakugo. Apparently he sweats nitroglycerin, and then he can blow it up. A human bomb. Nothing. I find everything funny, to be honest. 𝗧𝗏 stared at him. He smirked. Like your hair. Also, you kind of remind me of a Pomeranian. You know that? Bakugo fumed. He took a step towards him, his palms sparking. What the hell are you saying? 𝗧𝗏 sighed, shaking his head. Geez, it's a compliment, you know? Pomeranians are cute. If I got a dog, I would get a Pomeranian. They're really fluffy. 𝗧𝗏 stared at him, watching as the gears turned in his head. Whatever. His carmine eyes narrowed. And what the hell is with that scrap of fabric anyway? How can you see shit with that on? 𝗧 was surprised the guy hadn't tried to blast his face off with his quirk, but he wasn't complaining. Midoriya actually asked me that yesterday. He did ask more nicely, though. 𝗧𝗏 gave Bakugo a pointed look. I guess I forgot to answer him. 𝗧𝗏 smiled eerily. Well, think about it. People always cover up their insecurities, don't they? With that, the conversation was dropped. But Mina, being who she was, kept tension from becoming too thick by playing music loudly on her phone. With that, they had reached the USJ training center. Before entering, Aizawa turned to face them. All of you. He gave them all a stern look. The class bristled. But 𝗧𝗏 stared back at him, unperturbed. He sighed. Behave. For the love of God, please behave. 𝗧𝗏 snickered, remembering the note on his letter. Then, the doors opened. Too bad. They didn't know what was coming next. It was really too bad. Is this a hero? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stared at the astronaut in front of him. The hero's voice was kind, and her enthusiasm was contagious as she explained the USJ to the class. She was cute, in some ways. After all, that's what being a hero is all about. Ensuring the safety of others. In some ways, the morals of a hero aligned with those of a sorcerer. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 could empathize with that. But there were still too many differences with the two professions. Every time he saw heroes laughing at interviews on the television at this apartment, or heroes he saw patrolling the streets in gaudy costumes in Sendai, unaware of the evil, the countless curses, killing people right under their noses, he felt sick. He knew he couldn't blame them. They couldn't use the cursed energy in their bodies. They weren't even comparable to windows. After all, you can't fight something you can't see. Still, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 was roused from his thoughts at the sudden gasp of the UA students. A dark purple portal had opened in front of them. That was weird. He looked around, his gaze turning to 13, but she seemed just as confused as them. 13. Protect the students. So this wasn't planned then. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 and Aizawa locked eyes. He stared at him, eyes narrowed. Is this your doing? He seemed to say. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 shrugged and shook his head. Aizawa didn't seem convinced, but he had no choice but to turn back towards the portal. His teeth grit as his eyes began to glow. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 tensed as he sensed the curse energy levels spike. And then, he appeared. 𝗧𝗵𝗵. Has training started yet? Kirishima frowned. Who are these guys? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed darkly. You haven't figured it out yet? Those are villains. The real deal. Kaminari, don't short-circuit on us now. In front of them, Aizawa called. This is real. Those are villains. He begrudgingly confirmed. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 gave the class a pointed look, raising his eyebrows under his blindfold. See? Told you. Amateurs. He felt bad, but he couldn't help but see the gap between them. Aizawa. He called. What do we do? Their teacher didn't answer, but the grip on his binding cloth tightened. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 sighed. Let's stay back, you all. We're just students. Let the pros handle this. He trudged to the back, but stopped when a purple mist villain began to speak. 𝗧𝗏𝗃's head snapped towards him, eyes flaring. No way. All Might. The great symbol of peace. The man with a hand over his face rasped out. Geez, get a cough drop, won't you? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 frowned. But All Might? He knew that name. Wasn't that the skeletal guy back at the staff room? He looked weak. His cursed energy levels were off the charts, sure, but with that form, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 couldn't help but feel skeptical. Maybe if I kill a few kids, they'll come out to play. Okay. And now 𝗧𝗏𝗃 was paying attention. He snarled. Killing people, now? That went against his morals, and now he was obligated to get rid of this guy. He was still a person, though, so he couldn't kill him. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 hesitated. What should he do? There was no curse to exorcise. Kaminari, you sure you can't contact the school? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 asked as Aizawa began fighting the villains. I did. It doesn't work. His arms flailed. It's like everything's jammed. I could try again, but no. Don't bother. Don't waste your energy trying if we know it doesn't work. Save it. We might have to fight. 𝗎𝗎𝙢 gasped. Fight? But we're just students. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 didn't turn to face her, watching every one of Aizawa's opponents as he took them down. That one's not a threat, he thought to himself. Too weak. That one too. The strong ones aren't fighting yet. Would you rather die? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 asked airily. 13 is already out of commission. We can't contact the school. Aizawa can't hold off the villains forever. But it's like you said, he's a pro. He'll be fine, right? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 nodded. Yeah, he's a pro. But he's only human. Suddenly 2 blurs, one red, one blonde, whirled past him, creating a gust of wind that blew his hair in all directions. Did you think we were just gonna stand around and let you tear this place to 𝗬𝗎𝗓𝗍? Gasps. Kirishima. Bakugo. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 grit his teeth. Idiots. Collision bomb. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 scowled as he trudged past the broken cement. He'd fallen somewhere in the facility. That meant the others had been separated too. What was left was to find the others. Maybe, if he was lucky, he would have at least been grouped with someone sensible like Tinya or Yaoyorozu. Even Deku would be better than die. Seriously? The gods hate me. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 thought as he turned and headed towards the sounds of loud explosions. Think that's the last of these guys. Bunch of weaklings. Let's hurry and find the rest of our class. If we're both still in the USJ, then everyone else probably is too. And not all of them have the offensive skills we do. We gotta make sure they're safe. Especially since we screwed things up when we got in the way earlier. You want to track everyone down, have fun? But I'm gonna go destroy that 𝗧𝗵𝗲 bastard. Huh. Kirishima gawked at the blonde-haired boy, who had already started walking away. Bakugo, wait up, Dash. Our physical attacks didn't hurt that guy. Come on. Don't be an idiot, man. Kirishima tried to reason with him. Bakugo grit his teeth. Shut up, Dash, he paused. His eyes narrowed and he turned. Heads up. Gah. Kirishima stared with wide eyes at the chameleon-looking villain that now lay at his feet, unconscious. His hardening form slowly going away. The villain's head was bleeding. He turned to where 𝗧𝗏𝗏 was making his way down a large pile of broken cement. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Dude, what did you do to the guy? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 lifted a small bag. I took a piece of cement and crushed it. I got these little pebbles that I can throw like bullets. But not enough to kill them, you know? Kirishima nodded with wide eyes. Whoa, you sure though? You gotta be really precise with something that small. And the guy was invisible too. How did you see Dash? I didn't need your help, I had him where I wanted him. Bakugo, at least say thank you, Dash. Shut up, shitty hair. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 stared, unimpressed. He sighed, pinching his nose. Seriously, do you two realize what you've done? What you did was reckless. I get that you want to protect the class, but in doing so, you got in 13th's way. If she had taken care of the poor tall villain, none of this would have happened. Now the whole class is separated throughout USJ. Now, on top of fighting those villains, they have to worry about us. Kirishima deflated. He looked kind of like a dejected puppy. I know that, but we couldn't just let that villain go off easy. That's not manly. We're gonna be heroes. How can we let them say those things about us? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shook his head. No, I'm not saying that what you did was wrong. To be honest, it was bound to happen eventually. That was probably their plan. But now that we're separated, that means that they think we're weak. They want to weed us out in small groups, which means they probably won't expect it if we all showed up to fight back, right? Kirishima thought for a moment. Wait. He turned to face 𝗧𝗏𝗏, who had begun to smile. Oh. Collision bomb. Was this a bad idea? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 stared doubtfully at the scene in front of him. Bakugo had held down the warp villain, 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧, and All Might was in some kind of weird limbo position with the bird brain monster. Once Bakugo had captured 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧, both the monster and All Might were freed. But they were trying to get away. That can't happen. The damage was too great. If the villains escaped, after dealing this much damage, UA's reputation as a hero school would never recover. And he would face repercussions from the higher-ups for sure. He wasn't his brother. He couldn't defy them. Well then, he had no choice. 𝗏𝗏 is too powerful. 𝗏𝗏. 𝗏𝗏, meaning brainless. How fitting. Just as All Might and the 𝗏𝗏 were about to collide once more, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 popped up in between them. Both of them skidded to a stop. All Might almost fell on his face when he saw him. Young 𝗧𝗏𝗏. You shouldn't be here. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 turned to face him. All Might. He stopped. I'm supposed to earn the teacher's trust, right? How am I supposed to do that if I don't fight? 𝗧𝗏𝗏. Deku called out from behind him. He could tell, even without looking, that his body was purple, bruised, and broken. He had pushed himself too much. I'll let you have the finishing blow. But I hope that I can trust you'll vouch for me, All Might. The two stared each other down. Who is this boy? A bug? An anomaly. He shouldn't be here. Shigaraki's fingers twitched, the urge to it stronger than ever. All Might grit his teeth. He was injured. He needed a moment. Just one. He hated it. The fact that he needed to just rest. He would never had needed a breather in his prime. But right now, all of you, he said. His voice was calm, devoid of the passion from earlier. Stay back. All might. Deku staggered, unsure between going towards his mentor or obeying his commands. Stay back. What's this? Shigaraki muttered as he itched. All Might, stepping down, because a boy told him so? This isn't right. We're only here for the final boss. Nomu, take him out. The words had barely sounded before the Nomu burst forth. A hand reared back into a punch. But still, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stood, unmoving, the same smile on his face regardless of the embodiment of death moving towards her. 𝗧𝗏𝗃, please. Move out of the way. Deku cried out. He fell to the ground. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. He's going to... 𝗧𝗏𝗃 grinned. He lifted a hand. Deku shut his eyes. Silence. No sound of squelching bone. No splattering of blood on the dirt. Slowly, Deku opened his eyes once more and looked up. His eyes widened. He could feel tears welling up. He's okay. Indeed he was. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stood with a hand outstretched, the other in his pocket. His palm was on the Nomu's beak. The Nomu itself seemed to have stopped mid-punch, its arm only halfway towards its target, 𝗧𝗏𝗃's head. Shigaraki snarled as he glared through the gaps of the fingers on his face. His fingers twitched faster as he itched. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 tilted his head. Aren't you supposed to be stronger than this? What is this? Deku thought as he lay on the ground. He tremored. It's like a wave of emotions is pushing me down. I can't get up. What is this? Can you feel it? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 asked. It wasn't clear who he was talking to. His eyes were hooded as he stared back at the Nomu's unblinking eyes. My animosity. You should. Your cursed energy levels are definitely enough to at least feel it. Too bad, though. A second passed, and then the Nomu split into 5, connected at its hip. An unearthly screech sounded. Its body had seemed to open, like a fan, as if it had been slashed open by a hand of claws. Too bad. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 mused. You're so weak. He lifted his hand, only to rear it back and thrust it straight through the third piece of its body. When he pulled his hand out, his sleeve was drenched in blood. In his hand, he held an object wrapped in faded, yellowed paper. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stared at his hand, ignoring the blood dripping off in cascades from his fingers. You're not a cursed spirit. There's no way. After all, even those with no cursed energy could see you. Whoever made you was human, too. There's no way they were able to get their hands on something like this. So that means... 𝗧𝗏𝗃's eyes darkened. Curse user, young 𝗧𝗏𝗃. All Might stood, once more, in front of them. The boy tilted his head towards him. That's enough. A pause. And then, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 sighed. All right. You heard the man. I'm leaving. His arm was suddenly engulfed in a bluish flame. There was no heat to it, though. The blood on his sleeve disappeared, and the boy pocketed the object. Then he spun on his heel and headed towards the hero. He stopped. Make it quick, All Might. He's already healed. It was just like he said. The Nomu was whole again and was awaiting its next orders. Shigaraki grit his teeth. Tomura. Kurogiri stood beside him. Be rational, kill them, he rasped. He gasped as both hands itched at his throat. Kill All Might, and that boy, kill everyone, the Nomu moved. Collision bomb. Everything was a blur. After that, the Nomu was sent flying. Nizu and the other teachers had showed up. Snipe shot Shigaraki in his arms and legs. The villains escaped, sadly. But they were defeated, and the Nomu had been apprehended. Both All Might and Deku needed to be treated, but the rest of the class injuries weren't severe. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stayed to answer the questions from the police. None of Class 1 saw him again that day, after he disappeared into a police car and was driven away. But in reality, the questioning had only taken an hour or so, and after, he was sent back to UA where he was taken to the staff room for yet another questioning. First of all, Nizu said from his seat, I think we should at least thank 𝗧𝗏𝗏 for weakening the 𝗵𝗲 so that All Might could finish it off. It's admirable that you stood in the face of danger to save your classmates. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 blinked. That wasn't my intention, but you're welcome? Snipe drummed his fingers against the table. To be completely honest, All Might probably would have finished off that 𝗵𝗲 himself. He would have done it even if it killed him. That's just what he's like. You saved him a lot of injuries, boy, but what exactly was your motive here? 𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵𝗵 ectoplasm cut in. His account stated that you had ripped something out of the cavity in the 𝗵𝗲's chest. Where is the object? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 frowned. Oh, that thing? I almost forgot about that. It's nothing of importance, don't worry. I already sent it off to someone trustworthy. It's well guarded for sure. What? Ectoplasm seethed. You sent it off without UA approval? When did you dash at the police station? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 said cheerily. I knew UA would want it, so I made sure to get rid of it before I came here. If it stayed on school ground, it would attract all kinds of curses. He sobered. But that's not really what's important. Midnight, who was strangely serious in contrast to her usual flirty personality, piped up next. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. You fought the 𝗵𝗲 head-on and immediately defeated it. What was your thoughts on it? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 tapped his chin. He crossed his legs from where he sat at the table. 𝗵𝗲. The monster thing, right? I didn't think it was that special. Honestly, it was kinda weak. 3rd grade maybe. 2nd grade would be stretching it. The table was silent for a moment. But what else? Nizu asked, as if sensing that the boy still had more to say. 𝗬𝗓𝗓, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 said. There was a smile on his face, but his tone was anything but cheerful. Now that is what I call a monster. His cursed energy levels were off the charts, but he wasn't being controlled by a cursed object, like the 𝗵𝗲 was. It was like he was made of it, as if something had breathed life into energy itself. Something like that would have the potential to be a special grade. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 nodded to himself. He's the one I would look out for. And the other one? The report said there were 2 main villains, Nizu added. Tamura Shigaraki, the one with the hands and the itching problem, right? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 laughed. He's not going to be a problem. At least, not for now. His quirk is kinda like a decay, right? Oh yeah, before I forget, there's something else. About that cursed object. There is no way the creator of that 𝗵𝗲 would be able to get their hands on such a powerful cursed object, which means someone gave it to him. I think they're a curse user working with the villains. That itself is concerning. And why is that? Ectoplasm asked. Because, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 answered. It's taboo for sorcerers to interact with quirk users. Collision bomb. The next day when 𝗧𝗏𝗏 entered the room, he was met with silence. He couldn't blame them, though. He had pretty much mutilated someone, a monster, but still in front of some of their classmates. Some would get serious trauma from an experience like that. Yo, he said, waving a hand at the door. A moment of silence. And then, dude, you all right? It was Kirishima who spoke first. He approached 𝗧𝗏𝗏, a concerned look on his face. You faced off with that 𝗵𝗲 thing. Even All Might had trouble taking it down. He was followed closely by Deku, who piped up after him. He seemed a bit apprehensive, though. 𝗧𝗏𝗏, what you did was really reckless. I'm really happy you're okay, but what if you got hurt? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 stared at him. He flinched. Geez, Deku-dash, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 laughed. That's rich coming from you, he teased. Those arms of yours okay? Deku's cheeks turned pink. Ah, right. Recovery girl fixed them up for me. It's worse than the quirk test we did, but they should be fine. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 nodded. That's good. But really, you don't need to worry about me. He grinned. I've only lost a fight once in my life. 𝗧𝗏𝗏. As your class rep, I am also disappointed in your reckless behavior, but also express my sincere gratitude for your courage. I am conflicted on whether to scold or congratulate you. Ida handshops were frantic as he spoke, but his hands lowered. I'm glad you were able to protect our classmates. I myself was not as helpful as I would have liked. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shook his head. Don't say that. You brought back reinforcements, right? That's admirable. You must have ran really fast. Ida brightened at that. Right. He raised a hand. Yet another reason I should work on my long-distance runs. My engines almost overheated before I reached the school. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. We're not in class. Lower your hand, Ida. All right, class is starting. Sit down. Mr. Aizawa? The class stared in confusion in front of them. Do my eyes deceive me? Or, is that Mr. Aizawa? Mina whispered. I don't know. Kaminari whispered back. Geez, he was hurt real bad. I saw him before he was sent to recovery girl. Those injuries were no joke. Teaching the day right after a big fight. It's almost scary. Azui raised her hand. I'm glad you're all right, Mr. Aizawa. I'm sure we all are, but are you sure you're up to teaching right away? Rib bit. Aizawa sighed. I'm all right. Injuries are unavoidable in the profession of a hero, even if you're a teacher who doesn't do city patrols. He walked to the front desk. Besides, with the UA Sports Festival coming up, I need to whip you all into shape. His eyes glowed from under his bandages. So don't think of slacking off at all. Got it? Yes. The class responded in unison. Seriously? Sports Festival? That's the big event where all the students in each year face off, right? Yeah, that's how pros scout out for new interns. But seriously, so soon after the USJ incident, is it really a good idea? Quiet, all of you. Eep, Mina squealed. Mr. Aizawa's as scary as ever. After class, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stretched in his seat, leaning the chair back onto its back legs. UA's annual sports festival. He wondered if he'd be able to participate. He opened his eyes to see a blonde-haired boy standing in front of his desk. His chair slammed to the ground as he sat back. Bakugo? What do you need? Bakugo scowled, his hands shoved in his pockets. A pause. Spar. Fight me. Sorry, I'm not following. Bakugo grit his teeth. You heard me, you damn extra. Fight me. You said you only lost once, so you must be strong. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 blinked. Is that really what this is about? Also, Bakugo glared at him. He stared back, just as intensely. What you did? Back at USJ. It wasn't a quirk. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 raised an eyebrow. Huh. This guy is smarter than he looks. All Might let you fight. You're not just strong, but All Might thinks you're strong. But he doesn't trust you. And if All Might doesn't trust you, then I don't either. Geez, what a fanboy. But I'm gonna need to beat you if I want to be the #1 hero. Everyone here is my competition, and that includes you. So fight me. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 rolled his eyes. All right, I never said I wouldn't. I just asked why. He stood. Come on. But there is one condition if I win. Bakugo grit his teeth. I don't have to fight you, you know. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 cut in. I can just go straight home. Technically, we're not supposed to spar without teacher supervision. Fine. What the hell do you want? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 smirked. Collision bomb. Somewhere in Japan. Oh man. Another one? Where'd you even get those, sensei? I thought those were really hard to find. Haha. Doesn't matter. Now, down the hatch dash. I'll swallow it myself. You don't have to hold my mouth open. Hey dash. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 let's speed through the sports festival. There will be a slight difference to this. First 5 teams make it past the cavalry battle. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 will fight in different brackets than the original. In theory, these matchups won't work, but just bear with it. It's for the plot. By the way, OC names are AI generated, so yeah. A few days later, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stood with the rest of Class 1A as they waited for the other courses to join them on the field. He squinted through his blindfold, glancing at the many faces in the stands. He hadn't expected him to come. At least he was being supportive. He grinned and waved. Of course, he made no reaction, but it was enough that he was here. Time for our student speaker to say a few words. Let's give him a round of applause. No way. Bakugo's the student representative? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 snorted. Oh, this was going to be funny, he thought as he watched Bakugo stalk up to the mic. He glared at all of them from where he stood on the platform. I just want to say, I'm gonna win. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 puffed out his cheeks, trying to stop his laughter as the crowd erupted into boos. Aw man, now everyone is gonna hate us. Doesn't make much of a difference, Kirishima, they already do. that's 𝗵𝘃𝗁 for you. Not much we can do about it. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 raised a hand, laughing. Let's all do our best, everybody. And now, he stood in the midst of 100 students trying to clamber their way through the school gates. An obstacle course was the first event. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 watched as Todoroki and 𝗵𝘃𝗁 made their way to the front. Well, at least they understood. Didn't the rest of them know that this was a part of the test? Really, this was going to be so easy. Best have a little fun. He squatted down, shoving his hands in his pockets. Breath, he thought. The stampede of students rushed forward. Breath. And jump. He soared above the crowd of students, landing lightly on his feet in front of him. Then, he began sprinting forward. Todoroki and 𝗵𝘃𝗁 were already pinpricks in the distance. On the ground was a robot, which bore scorch marks. So, this was meant to slow them down, and it seemed that 𝗵𝘃𝗁 already took care of one. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 spotted Todoroki's ice as he passed. 50 meters ahead, 3 robots cluttered towards him. Target acquired. Prepare for fire dash. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 grabbed a scrap piece of metal on the ground, using his cursed energy to wrap it around itself into a makeshift stick. He jumped spinning through the air. His legs cut straight through the legs of a robot, the stick taking care of another. He stepped back, thrusting the stick through the chest cavity of the robot as it fell, pushing it forward so it wouldn't risk falling backwards onto the rest of the students. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 wasn't that cruel to make them have to deal with his messes. Then he kept going. Whoa, did you see that? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 Suzume just defeated 3 robots in one go. He got them out of the way for the other students too. How considerate. The next obstacle was a canyon of rocks, with ropes connecting the platforms for students who didn't have quirks that could help them get easily across. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 stopped, looking around. Mina was sliding across a rope with her acid, leaving the pathway unusable. Smart girl, cutting off her opponents. But he didn't need those. He could just jump. He leapt from one platform to another, taking his time as to not draw any suspicion. Haida, he called as he passed. 𝗧𝗏𝗵. What dash? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 jumped away. He reached the other side in no time. Just as his feet made contact with the ground, a puff of pink smoke exploded in the distance, followed by panicked shouts. Huh. He ran. Oh, well, this sucks, he thought dryly as he watched a student be blown into the air. The god thing is, there are less bombs in the back because so many people kept messing up, and at least it was clear where the bombs were. He didn't need to think much. He jumped forward, alternating between landing on his feet or hands as he jumped through the bombs. Around 40 feet in front of him, Todoroki and 𝗵𝘃𝗁 battled for first place. Well, who cares about them? As long as finished, he didn't care what he placed. A large explosion sounded behind him. As he made his next jump, swiveled in the air to see Midoriya sailing through the air on a makeshift sled. Whoa, look at him go, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 mused. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 eventually made it to the finish. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 Suzume finishes 4th. Outstanding. And he doesn't even seem winded, unlike the first 3. Oya, Deku, you finished 1st, right? Good for you. Didn't know you had it in you. Watch out though, 𝗵𝘃𝗁 sure looks mad. Deku laughed nervously. Oh yeah, thanks. One by one, all contestants completed the obstacle course, and the first 40 or so made it to the next round. A cavalry battle. Wah laughed. I can feel everyone's blood lust from here. Good luck, Deku. Thanks, but 𝗧𝗏𝗵 aren't you going to be going after me too? Deku's last words fizzled out like bubbles. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 shook his head. Nope, don't really care for this that much. So, don't worry, I won't be gunning after you. My team might though, so in that way I won't have a choice. Oh right, Deku piped up. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 tilted his head. I've actually been thinking. I've got another theory for what your quirk might be. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 smiled, nodding. Well, let's hear it. Now? Why not? Deku grinned enthusiastically. At least his mind had been taken off finding a team for now. Well, from all I know right now, you have enormous amounts of strength. It's kind of like my quirk, in a way, but maybe it's possible that it's not a quirk? Like, it's just you, and you don't have a quirk? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 smiled at him. Wait, did I get it right? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 stuck his tongue out, giving him a peace sign. Oh, I'm wrong again, aren't I? Well, that's okay. I'll figure it out eventually. All right, you have 15 minutes to decide your teams and strategize. Deku jumped. Oh no, I need to find a team. Sorry, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. He disappeared into the sea of students. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 stood idly as everyone rushed to find team members. Seriously, what was the big fuss? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 took the opportunity to glance back up at the stands again. Now that he thought about it, the stands were littered with heroes. Guess this really is a big event. Huh? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 thought. Hey, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Suzume, right? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 turned to see a boy with purple hair which stood strangely on end, and eye bags to rival Aizawa's. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 frowned. And who are you? The boy grinned. Shinso Hitoshi. You finished 4th in the obstacle course, right? Do you have a team yet? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 shrugged. Why are you asking? You trying to recruit me? He nodded. Well, at least he was honest. No one wants Midoriya on their team because they want his points. Todoroki has a team already, and whoever wants Bakugo on his team is crazy. So, you're the best choice. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed. Sorry, but I don't think that's a good idea. Shinso frowned. Why is that? Why don't you just think about it? I'm the 4th person to finish the obstacle course. It's not as much as Todoroki or Bakugo, but I still have quite a lot of points. I'm a bit of a target myself. I want a fun game. So sorry, but I'll have to pass. No hard feelings, though. I just don't really care about this that much. He grinned, ending his explanation with a thumbs up. Okay, I'll find someone else. Did you see the guy with the tail in your class anywhere? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 nodded, assuming he meant Wajiro, because who else would it be? He jabbed a thumb behind him, and Shinso brushed past him. Well, that was that. Collision bomb, collision bomb. 5th place. Not bad. At least they made it through. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 gave his team members a backwards wave walking towards the stadiums. He'd better rest up before his match. On the way, he met up with Yaoyorozu, who had also made it to the finals. In her hands was a pile of orange fabric and pom-poms. She sat, seemingly uncomfortable, as a boy talked to her with his hand planted to the wall beside her. He said something, and she shook her head meekly. At that, the boy dropped his hand. He seemed to yell at her, then turned away, walking away towards the hallway where 𝗧𝗵𝗲 waited. What are you looking at? He mumbled, before walking off, pushing his shoulder against his as he did. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 frowned. He would make sure to remember that face. He walked up to Yaoyorozu as she carefully began folding the clothing in her hands. If you don't mind me asking, what are those for? The girl flinched. Oh my gosh. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, you scared me. Yaoyorozu held a hand to her chest, sighing. But it's fine, she smiled. These are cheerleading uniforms. Kaminari and Mineta said that the girls were putting on a cheerleading show of some kind, to encourage the students fighting in the finals. I think it's honorable, really. Mina's rounding up the other girls as we speak. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 couldn't help but laugh. Oh, he was so glad and lucky that never mind. That's a lie, by the way. He mused. Yaoyorozu looked up from the pile of clothing. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 thought for a moment, then shook his head. Never mind. Have fun. Look forward to it. Be careful. Don't talk to strangers. He walked off. Yaoyorozu stared at his back as he walked away. No way, she whispered. So far, the people fighting in the second round are Midoriya, Todoroki, Shiozaki, Ida, Ishido, Kirishima-Woohoo, and Bakugo, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 said, as she watched Uraraka fall to the ground. KOD. He winced. He felt kinda bad. Bakugo really had gone all out, but it was probably best that way. Wait, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 turned to Deku, whose finger was still an unsightly shade of purple. Isn't your match next? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 thought for a moment. You're right. It is. I should probably go now, right? He mused. Ida stared at her, wide-eyed. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. You must make haste. You cannot afford to be tardy to your own match. It would look bad to the pros and can hinder your chances of getting an internship. Yeah, I know. Class rep, thanks for everything though. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 stood. Well, I'm off. See ya. He jumped straight down into the arena, heading onto the field. Next up, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Suzume against 𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Ready, go. Present Mix's voice sounded over the speakers. Neither of them moved. 𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲. He was from the General Education Department. But his quirk was formidable. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had seen it in the obstacle course. Something about being able to manipulate dirt? It was versatile and would be handy, since the ground they stood on was lined with a layer of gravel. You're a hero course student, right? 𝗵𝗲 asked, from where he stood. He shuffled in his bulky, metal armor. That's right. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 answered airily. What about it? I wanted to get into the hero course, just like everyone else. But just because of one slip-up, I messed up in the practical exam and couldn't get in. Don't get me wrong, I love everyone in the general education course, but I want to be a hero, you know? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 frowned. How? Does being in the general education course stop you from being a hero? Just do what you want. From where he watched in the stands, Deku deadpanned. Is he serious? He whispered. 𝗵𝗲 flinched. He grit his teeth, his hands curling into fists. No hard feelings. But I need to beat you, so that I can take your place in the hero course. The gravel around them rose, spinning into tornadoes. Whoa. Now the action starts. 𝗵𝗲 pulls an impressive attack. He's turning the stadium into a storm. Try not to get dirt in your eyes, everyone, but wait. Where's Suzume? Where is he? 𝗵𝗲 chid, his head whipping around as he tried to spot the black-haired menace. There's no way he left the stadium. That would mean he lost, because he went out of bounds. I made sure that my tornadoes filled the whole arena, though. So where, of course? He looked up, rearing back an arm. The sky. He'll come down from above. 𝗧𝗵𝗲's eyes widened as he found himself flying across the arena. He threw an arm, a leg, anything, down to the ground, wrapping his leg with dirt to stop him from tumbling out of bounds. What? But you thought I went in from above, right? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 mused. He had a foot still in the air, his hands in his pockets. His head was cocked, and with his eyes covered, he couldn't tell what expression he was making. Close, but no. He lowered his foot. I did jump, in the beginning. But there are spaces in between those whirlwinds of yours. I just went in between, circled to the back, and then dash, he gave a small kick. 𝗵𝗲 winced, slowly getting up. You? Why would you tell me that? I'll just counter you next time. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed. Maybe. But techniques are always stronger if you tell your opponent what it is. And who said I'll use the same trick once? There's no way. I can't lose. He grit his teeth. Thrusting his hands forwards, he brought another wave of sand towards the other boy. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 jumped, dodging it with ease. While 𝗵𝗲 fired shots, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 continued to dance around, jumping away seemingly just before contact. Well, look at that. 𝗧𝗵𝗲's holding his own. 𝗵𝗲 looks like he's in trouble. Is it just me, or is he getting slower? Why is he doing this? 𝗧𝗪𝗀 wiggled in her seat. Shouldn't he just finish him off? Is this another 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗎 situation? Beside her, 𝗎𝗁𝗎 slid down her seat. Please don't call it that. Deku thought for a moment. No, I don't think so. Look, he pointed. He's dodging, but he's always facing 𝗵𝗲. He's trying to analyze his fight pattern, or he's trying to tire him out. Even though he's jumping around like that, it takes more energy to fire off consecutive attacks. Kaminari stares at him, wide-eyed. Whoa, I didn't think of it like that. Once again, Midoriya pulls through with his explanations, huh? Well, look at that. 𝗵𝗲 stopped. Is he resigning? From the arena, 𝗵𝗲 panted. He snarled. No way. I can't give up now. His head snapped up. You arrogant prick. You haven't attacked me once. Is it because you think I'm not worthy? Is that it? He raised his voice towards the end. Whoa. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 lifted his hands, taking a step back. No need to shout, you know. He shrugged. At no point did I think you were weak. In fact, it was quite the opposite. He took a step forward, to which 𝗵𝗲 gingerly took a step back. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed. What's the point of a fight if you don't win? I've never lost. Well, that's a lie. I've lost once, but just once. When he beat me, do you know what he said? I've kept his advice close to my heart ever since. It's my secret to winning, and I've never lost since. You want to know what he said? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 smiled. No need to be so apprehensive, you know? He said, go into every battle thinking you'll lose. Always believe that your opponent is stronger than you because, no matter how strong you are, there is still a chance they can beat you. Ironic, right? But the truth is, in the most dire situations, we can find the strength to fight back. Not underestimating your enemies is the key to winning. Alright, I actually didn't even want to fight in this sports festival. I don't think it's necessary. I was actually going to withdraw from the finals dash. Wait, is he serious? Sure, sorry Kaminari, but I want to watch this. But, just before this, I found a reason to fight when I saw your face. What? Sounds weird, right? Here, how about this? If I lose this fight, I'll willingly withdraw from the hero course and let you take my place dash. Muramoto's jaw dropped. You've gone mad. His heart was beating loudly against his chest. Oya, let me finish, and if you lose, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 grinned. He pointed to the stadium, where a girl with ebony black hair and a ponytail sat on the edge of her seat in anticipation. Then please apologize to my classmate, Momo Yaoyorozu. Muramoto's gaze hardened. What do you mean? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed darkly. You know what I mean. So, how about it? You agree? Jairu turned to her friend, who was staring wide-eyed at the scene below her. Yamamoto? What is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 talking about? Yaoyorozu's eyes welled with tears. Oh my gosh, I didn't think he saw that. Fine, fine, you better keep your word. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 chuckled. Same to you, he drawled. Okay, here. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a hammer, a smiley face painted on the blunt side. Nice, right? A friend got this for me. I never got to test it out, though. My situation is technically similar to a support student's, so I'm allowed to bring gear into the arena. Believe it or not, I checked the rule books, and Muramoto stared at it wearily. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 grinned. I'll defeat you with this, and I'll use this as an opportunity to showcase my cursed energy too. He raised his other hand, two nails seemingly materializing in his hand. Hope you're ready. 𝗬𝗵𝗲, please intervene. On it. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 grinned, his head tilting as he stared down Muramoto. What is he thinking? I can't see his eyes. Is he looking at me? Muramoto thought. He took a step back, eyeing the nails wearily. They looked like normal nails to him. Out of the corner of his eye, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 was quickly making his way down the stairs. No. He closed his eyes. He could take this. He would win. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 threw the nails into the air. Cursed energy technique. Resonance. He spun, hitting the nails in quick succession. At the same time, a large slab of cement erupted from the floor of the arena. But the nails pierced right through the stone, sending cracks through the rest of the formation. After a moment's silence, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 gingerly lowered the slab, revealing the scene to the other half of the stadium. Muramoto was pinned to the opposite wall, a large dent where he had collided showing in the stone. A nail had embedded itself into the pointed piece above his shoulder guards, not piercing flesh, but metal. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 twirled the hammer in an intricate swirl in his hand. It erupted into blue light, disappearing from his grasp. Like I said, he said proudly, I never lose. Not anymore. The stadium was silent. Muramoto is out of bounds, Kayama declared. Her voice was clear and sharp through the stadium. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Suzume advances to the next round. Around 30 minutes earlier. Second round, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Suzume versus Richard Lee. Richard Lee? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 mused. That name sounds foreign. You from around here? His opponent had striking, blonde yellow hair and hazel green eyes. His coloring was definitely exotic, at least for those in Japan. I'm from the States, he laughed. Moved here because UA was where the best, All Might completed his studies. No other reason. Since I was the top student at my old school, transferring was easy. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 glanced at the buttons on his jacket. You're a support class student. Right you are. And I'm about to blow you away, don't feel bad when I defeat you with my brilliance. Lee pulled away his jacket to reveal a strapped armor around his chest. He pressed the center button, and with a whir of mechanics, 𝗵𝗲𝗏 burst from the opening and quickly spread around him. He laughed manically. He was lifted into the air, suspended in a large, robot suit that reached halfway up the stadium and took up half the arena. 𝗧𝗏 frowned. Wasn't that dumb? Making himself a bigger target? But wait, those eyes. 𝗧 squinted. Even from here, he could tell. Gray, unseeing. Oh my, how underwhelming. 𝗧 chuckled. What a large toy you have. I was surprised at first. I asked around. Your classmates said you had always been calm and collected. I didn't think you were one to pull a trick like this. But just before the sports festival, you were said to have been panicky, always worrying about the smallest of things. Such a large event ought to make you nervous, and you're so young, so don't feel bad. But seeing you confirms it. 𝗧𝗏's gaze hardened behind his blindfold. You've been possessed, haven't you? On the stands, Class 1A watched nervously as their classmate faced off with the robot. Do you think he'll be okay? That robot looks so big. Kirishima laughed. Alright Ishido, you saw what he did in round 1. You're spouting nonsense, Lee hissed from inside the mecha suit. Just let me pulverize you. The robot lifted a gigantic arm and slammed it to the ground. Rocks flew everywhere. 𝗧𝗏 thought. So this was slightly different than the robots at the obstacle course. To give him credit, this one was stronger. Lee had also managed to amplify the potential energy in the swing into kinetic energy, increasing the force of impact. 𝗧 hopped onto the arm of the robot and began running up towards its head. On the joints of the robot, he jumped, slamming a foot down and creating cracks in the metal armor. When he reached the cockpit where Lee sat, his opponent finally made his move. Huh? You really think you got me, huh? What looked like spider legs made of sharp metal shot out from right under the window where Lee sat, aiming towards 𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗏 jumped, just before the pieces of metal punctured through his body. Getting violent, are we? 𝗧𝗏 said airily. He jumped off the robot, swirling through the air before slamming his foot straight down onto the glass window. Cracks formed, and then it shattered. He jumped off again, swinging in an arc through the air and kicking once again, but not making contact with the machine. Instead, the force of the swing slashed straight through the machine in a diagonal line, severing it into two halves. The robot clattered to the floor in a pile of rubble and dirt. Again, how the hell am I supposed to comment when I can't see thing? Mike yelled. Lee and 𝗧 fell through the air. 𝗧 had a death grip on Lee's head, smashing it into the ground as he himself was suspended for a few moments more. Something like this won't kill you, will it? Not with a curse inside you trying to preserve its vessel. I guess I have no choice but to exorcise you. And with that, the two of them were engulfed in blue flames. Lee, but that couldn't be him, screamed. It was demonic, loud, screeching, and his eyes bled black as he struggled, his mouth open wide. From his mouth cavity, a 𝗬𝗏𝗏 black bead formed, which 𝗧 quickly grabbed with his other hand. Lee fell, limp, to the ground, but he seemed unharmed. 𝗧 stood and pocketed the bead. But something else was different. 𝗧 whispered. It's bright. He looked up at the stands, where Class 1A sat. They stared back at his eyes, bright blue, like the ocean, all-seeing and powerful. They seemed to glow. He trudged off to the side, lifting a piece of rubble and retrieving his blindfold. Geez, this thing is useless. There's no use for it anymore. Now everyone knows. Dang it, I messed up. Richard Lee is immobilized. 𝗧 advances to the next round. 𝗧 turned to Midnight, who had her fan in the air as she announced the results. Oya, Mississippi Midnight, he called, waving. I want to have a word with you after this. Is that okay? Midnight lowered her fan, looking confused. All right, what is it? Collision bomb. There was a brief pause in between rounds as all contestants rested up for their next matches. We're here with an interview from a second-round finalist, Suzume, who's here on his break as he waits for his next match. 𝗧, how are you feeling? From the hologram screen projected across the screen, 𝗧𝗏 sat at a round table facing the journalist. He shrugged. I feel fine. I don't know why I'm here though. Would have thought Bakugo would be here, cause he was student rep, or maybe Todoroki, those two are the ones going to the finals. You all are weird. The interviewee had been decided by a poll that consisted of audience members and students form UA. 𝗧𝗏 had had the most votes, and was therefore subjected to a short interview. Well, we couldn't help but be interested. After all, your last match was one to remember, despite it being very confusing. You're full of mysteries. Suzume. 𝗧𝗏 wrinkled his nose. The female reporter ruffled her papers. All right, let's start with the first question. How'd you beat the student, Muramoto? He has excellent grades and his quirk is strong. It's not an easy feat to beat him. I actually got the idea from Bakugo. At the USJ incident, there was a villain who I thought was similar. Muramoto can turn his body into sand, but not his armor. I just used that to my advantage. The reporter looked surprised. 𝗧𝗏 frowned. He tilted his head. What? Was that not interesting enough? It really was that simple. The reporter shook her head. Oh no, it's definitely not that. You handled it in a level-headed manner, and your win was also based on trying to, was it, get an apology for your classmate, Mississippi 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏? That's right. The reporter's eyes shone. So, tell us, is there perhaps more to your reasons for this? What do you think of Miss 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏? 𝗧𝗏 rolled his eyes under his blindfold. But obviously, the audience couldn't see this, so it just looked like he was thinking. Oh, 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏? She's nice. She's our class's second in command for a good reason. To be honest though, it could have been anyone and I would have done the same thing. It's just the right thing to do. The reporter nodded, seemingly disappointed at 𝗧𝗏's truthful answer. All right, everyone is wondering why you decided to step down from the next fight. That meant that Tokoyami automatically made it to the third round. Why would you give up a spot on the podium? 𝗧𝗏 shrugged. I don't care about it that much. Fourth is good enough for me. Those guys have been working a lot harder than me. They deserve it. And 𝗧𝗏 grinned mysteriously. I have something to take care of after this. All right, last question. Geez, we're running out of time. What's your quirk? The reporter asked eagerly. You showed a large amount of strength in both matches, but it wasn't clear what it was. 𝗬𝗪𝗠, is it a strength-type quirk, like the #1 hero All Might's? Quirk? 𝗧𝗏 grinned. Well, actually, there are bets going around in my class on what it is. Yes, I know. Hey guys. He waved to the camera. In the stands, class 1 a sweat dropped. But since it came up, I guess I'll reveal it. My quirk is... He paused for dramatic effect. Nothing. I don't have one. He laughed as he flashed a peace sign. Funny, right? Everything you saw was just my physical power, combined with a few techniques. I really didn't use much energy, though. The reporter's eyes widened. That can't be possible. Such feats shouldn't be possible without a quirk. 𝗧𝗏 laughed. Why not? Can you not believe that I am just strong? Besides, the world survived without quirks for many, many years. How is this any different? And anyway, he held a finger to his lips in a shush gesture. I said that I didn't have a quirk, not that I wasn't gifted in some way. Right. The hologram faded away. And that's it for the special intermission interview featuring first year 𝗧𝗏 Suzume. Next up, we have our finalists face off in the final match of the day. Shoto Todoroki and Katsuki Bakugo. From the stands, 𝗧𝗏 grinned. Do your best, you two, he called, waving down at his two classmates. Beside him, Deku jumped in his seat, his pencil clattering to the ground. 𝗧𝗏. He held his notebook to his chest protectively. When did you manage to get here? He muttered. Oh, just now, 𝗧𝗏 answered. Deku wiggled in his seat. 𝗧𝗏. I guessed it earlier. That you didn't have a quirk? How come you said I still got it wrong? 𝗧𝗏 tilted his head. Did I? Deku blinked. Yeah, you did. I asked and then oh wait. Memories of 𝗧𝗏's face after he had asked his question came to mind. 𝗧𝗏 smiled. I never gave you a straight answer. You just took it that way. You were right, you just didn't know it. He laughed. Half the class owes you money now. You're rich, 𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗂𝗧 laughed nervously. Right. 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗧𝗵𝗲. 30 minutes later, outside the stadium. Oya, wait up. Bakugo turned around. What the hell do you want, damn extra? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. Nothing. Just wanted to congratulate you on your win. Bakugo grit his teeth. Not much of a win if that half and half didn't even go all out. They're looking down on me. Damn extras. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 shook his head. The way I see it, it's still a win. You've got many chances to win in the future. Don't forget, he grinned. You still need to beat me, Katsuki. Bakugo growled, his hands forming fists. You want to die? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 shrugged. Kinda. And also, try not to lose your temper. Don't want to get scorch marks on your shiny new metal, do you? Bakugo lowered his hands. Seriously. Out of all things, why would you want that? Huh. Told you I'll win. The hell? How the hell did I lose? It's barely been 10 seconds. Hehe, well, it still counts. Now I get to call you whatever I want. Angry Pomeranian. Shut up. Katsuki. Stop it. Damn it. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. There isn't anything else I want from you. I just want you to open up. You should make some more friends. It'll be good for you. Shut up. That day was full of laughter and new discoveries. Heh. Right. Katsuki? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 thought. Well, so much for a second-grade curse. Seriously, why are there so many curses in a school? Anyway, probably because of the sports festival. Tensions are high around these times anyway. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 sighed, pocketing the mason jar that held the curse in his pocket. Geez, though, it's hard to keep this transformation up for so long. Takes too much energy. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 lifted an arm, yanking an ivory band around his index finger off. Immediately, his form changed. His black hair lengthened, falling past his shoulders in subtle waves. His eyes glittered as he tossed his head back, running a hand through his hair. Gods, he sighed. Finally, that compression band is like a straitjacket. What? Are they trying to kill me or something? Something fell to the floor. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 turned, raising an eyebrow at the newly appeared Hitoshi Shinso. He stared at her, an incredulous look on his face. You're a girl? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 stared back at him. Finally, she sighed, throwing a hand over her face. I really messed up. The class was given a day off after the sports festival. And obviously, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 spin it with Shinso. Why are you following me around? We're besties now. We met, literally yesterday. You want a 𝗬𝗪? Shinso blinked. He eyed the brightly colored bag of fried dough in her hands. His brows furrowed, as if he was thinking. Then, he sighed and relented. Fine. Yay. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 handed over the bag, and Shinso gingerly took one, taking a small tentative bite out of it as they continued to walk to the mall together. In her head, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 giggled in triumph. Peace offering accepted. Begin Phase 2. A few hours later, they found themselves wandering the streets once more. They had visited a cat cafe, as per Shinso's request upon seeing the new kittens in the window. He had been attacked by a good dozen of the fluffballs, but he seemed unperturbed. He was so immersed in his cat petting that he had not noticed 𝗧𝗏𝗃 snapping pictures and sending them in the Class 1A group chat. They'd also went to a stationery store, where 𝗧𝗏𝗃 bought more HB pencils for Kirishima because he kept breaking them, and a funny Pomeranian eraser who she and Shinso both agreed would make a great victory gift for Bakugo. Oya, Shinso, let's stop here. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 skidded to a stop in front of a cute cafe. She had seen it on Mina's phone, and she had always wanted to go. They have crepes with cat-shaped ice cream. Cats? Yes. Now come on, furball. Crepes secured, they left the shop. As she took a bite out of her crepe, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 looked up. Across the street, above a cosmetic shop was a large, blown-out picture of a pro hero. It was a very dynamic shot, and he stared intensely at the camera, a wide, determined grin on his face. He had large, red wings on his back, and red feathers fluttered across the spread of the poster. She blinked and looked around. Around her, people stopped to point and smile at the man. Even 2D, he must have had a large influence on the people around them. Hey Shinso. Shinso had carefully picked off the chocolate chip nose of his cat, smoothing over the dent with his spoon. He seemed to want to preserve the cat's face as long as possible. Who's that? Shinso looked up, finally taking a lick of his ice cream. He raised an eyebrow. Seriously? Do you really not know who that is? 𝗧𝗵𝗵 pouted. No, you know where I came from. Shinso sighed. It's Hawks. He's a pro. One of the best. He has the second highest approval rating. Actually, 𝗧𝗵𝗵 frowned. What does that mean? It means people like him. Oh, like All Might. No one can be like All Might. But yeah, kind of. Oh. Shinso gave the ice cream in her hands a quick glance. Did you really get the strawberry marshmallow fluff flavor? That thing's like loaded with sugar. It's really sweet. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 nodded happily. I know. He gave her a strange look. You really are a girl. He bit off the kitty's pretzel ear before panicking. I mean, that doesn't matter. But 𝗧𝗵𝗵 rolled her eyes. Your ice cream is dripping, she pointed out, before skipping ahead. Shinso caught up quickly. Dang, people with long legs really have it easy, don't they? And they slowly settled into a steady pace. Hey, Suzume, why did you want to be a hero? 𝗧𝗵𝗵 paused mid-lick. She gave him a strange look. What's with the deep questions today, Mr. Philosopher? Shinso stared at her, disgruntled. I paid for your ice cream. The least you can do is answer. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 rolled her eyes, but relented. She thought for herself. To be honest, I don't want to be a hero. You don't? I thought everyone wanted to be a hero. It's like a dream job. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 shook her head. Not everyone. Really, I only came here because of my brother. All I've ever wanted, she sighed, was to be someone everyone can look up to. An idol, someone who is strong, so that no one can look down on me, or the people around me. Someone who makes others feel safe. I think we forget sometimes that we don't have to be a hero to do that. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 nodded to herself, determined. I want to make this a world where no one needs saving. A world where there is no need for idols. And a world where everyone can be an idol, if they want to be. Shinso was quiet for the rest of the way back to campus. 𝗧𝗵𝗵. That night, sat at her dimly lit seat in her new apartment, tapping a pencil against her chin. In front of her was a crisp, printed internship form. There was a single line running through the center where she had folded it. It was surprisingly simple: name, hero name, top 3 choices for internships. She sighed. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 hadn't really thought about going to an internship. Such things didn't interest her. She had courses to exorcise. She didn't have time for this. But if she had to do one, it would be better to do it in a large city. One that was bound to have a lot of curses. She glanced at the stack of papers beside her. Surprisingly, she had racked up just over 100 offers. Maybe her show at the sports festival showed a bit more than she thought it would. She flicked through the pages, bottom to top, her eyes settling on the top 3. They were ranked based on the leading hero of the agency. Her eyes stopped at the top one. Her breath stilled. And then, 𝗧𝗵𝗵 found herself suddenly wanting to do an internship after all. Her internship was actually pretty uneventful. Although Kyushu was a large city, Hawk's agency was also very large. And 𝗧𝗵𝗵 were interns. There was rarely any jobs for them on the front lines. Today, she took her usual route to the agency, grabbing a bubble tea for herself, a black coffee for 𝗧𝗵𝗵, and an extra sweet macchiato with 3 pumps of caramel for Hawks. As she entered the agency, there was the familiar buzz as workers flit around like worker bees. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 sighed and took the clear glass elevator up to the 14th floor. As she did, Hawk's bright red wings appeared in the distance. He neared the elevator, almost crashing into the glass. He reeled back as the elevator stopped to the 5th floor, a messy-haired IT scurrying in like a mouse, his long rat's tail tucked between his legs. Hawks balked, then spotted her. He grinned and waved, to which she simply lifted the paper 4-hole cup holder to him. He spotted his drink of choice among the 3 and grinned wider. He pointed to himself, as if to say, "For me?" 𝗧𝗵𝗵 nodded. He gave a thumbs up, then sped off, presumable to his office. When 𝗧𝗵𝗵 reached Hawk's office, the hero himself opened the door. "Thanks for this, 𝗧𝗏𝗃, he said cheerily, taking a long swig of his drink. Yo, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲, 𝗧𝗏𝗃's got drinks. From the couch, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 trudged over, taking the drink with a nod. You're here early, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 teased. The young hero shrugged. I live closed, he answered. He popped open the lid of his cup. This is black, right? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 nodded. As dark as your soul. He rolled his eyes, but could see the small smile on his mouth, beak. Over the past week, she and 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 had really bonded. Maybe it was due to the fact that he still thought she was a boy, but he seemed more comfortable around her. And they started buying each other breakfast drinks. He always got her something new. It was something she looked forward to, actually. All right, today's the last day of your internship, right? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 nodded as she took a seat on the couch. Hawk's office was spacious, a large empty space in front of the open window behind his desk. The sunlight streamed through onto his back, making his shadow seem elongated across the white rug. We don't have desk duty again, right? 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 mumbled. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. She couldn't blame him. They spent 2 days out of the week confined to a desk, doing paperwork and collecting census on the residential areas. Things like number of residents per building and such. It wasn't very interesting stuff, that's for sure. Nope, Hawk said. You've got patrol. With yours truly. Don't worry, I'll hold back a bit and give you 2 first years some experience. He grinned. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 smiled back. At least, today wouldn't be that bad. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗃. 𝗧𝗏𝗃. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 looked up from where she stood, wrapping 𝗵𝗃𝗲 tightly with rope. She had hit him in the pressure points in his arms, legs, and necks, virtually making him paralyzed. Temporarily, of course. Why did you join this internship? It certainly wasn't for experience, right? He gestured around them. They had taken down a small, underground fighting ring that was dealing illegal drugs. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 was off finding the rest of their storage. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. No, God no. If that was the case, I probably would have gone to the Endeavor agency. No offense, of course. Hawks held his hands up in a surrender position. None taken, there's no one better than the big guy, right? Other than All Might, of course. Hawks sobered, the playful grin dropping from his face. But really? Why? 𝗧𝗏𝗃 shrugged. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 smiled, her eyes closing. Actually, I didn't even know who you were until the day I turned in my internship form. Hawks gasped in mock offense. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 laughed. It's funny, it's the day I was out with Shinso that I figured out who you were. I'd heard of people talking about you and all, 'cause you're one of the top heroes of Japan, but I never saw your face. And then, I saw that poster of you. The advertisement for that one cologne? Hawks made a strange face, as if an unpleasant memory came to mind. You have the highest approval rating. You're constantly neck to neck with Best Jeanist. And when I saw you, I knew why. Hawks hummed, smiling. Everyone around me had stopped to look at the poster. It was like they were entranced, or something. All of them had good things to say. Look, it's Hawks, or he's the coolest. They all had something good to say about you. They all liked you. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 cocked her head to the side. I wanted to know how to make everyone like me. How to smile, like everything would be okay. That's why I put your agency first and then Mirko, because from the clips I saw, she was cool, and then Endeavor's agency. Hawks gave a sad smile. If only you knew, kid. He laughed, ruffling 𝗧𝗏𝗃's hair. She grumbled. That's a strange wish, kid. I hope you never find out how I lie. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗃. That night, a code red was called into the agency. Both of you, listen up, the villain has a long-ranged signal quirk. They rigged several bombs around the residential area and can set them off at any time. We need to detain them before things get out of hand. Hawks paused for a moment, then took his phone out of his pocket. Yo? What's up? What? Hawks' face remained unchanged, but the look in his eyes turned dangerous. The villain took hostages? All right, we're on our way. He dropped the phone back in his coat. Come on, you two. We're going. Meet me there. All right, Hawk-sama. With that, Hawks took off out the open window, while 𝗧𝗏𝗃 and 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 quickly made their way downstairs. You can take the bike, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲. I'll just run. See ya. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, leaving 𝗃𝗁𝗵𝗲 standing beside the jet black motorcycle by the doors of the agency. Did he know I had my eye on it? Okay, you two. Hawk's disoriented voice sounded over their head speakers. I don't want you two going anywhere near the villain. Stay in the other residential buildings and help with evacuations. Leave the villain to the pros. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 frowned. Are you sure? I thought you said we were short-handed. Exactly. I know you two are capable, but we can't risk endangering the civilians in case the villains try something. We need to get them out as soon as possible. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 grit her teeth, the wind biting harshly against her face as she leapt up the bridge and landed on top of a high-speed train. I'm almost there. I'll do as you say, Hawk-sama, she said bitterly. Time, 9:15. She spotted the district several blocks away. Already there were raging fires in the distance, pinpricks of glowing flames growing into infernos. She had to hurry. She took off, leaping across buildings as she headed to her target. 𝗃𝗁𝗵𝗲, she shouted into the comms. There are 10 residential buildings in this district. The other heroes are currently taking care of buildings 1 to 3. I need you to cover 4 and 5 for me. No problem, came 𝗃𝗁𝗵𝗲's response. But what about the other 5? Don't tell me. You're going to do that by yourself? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had reached the first building. She snarled as she whacked a low-level goon guarding the entrance hard around the head. We don't have a choice. The fires have already reached the last 3 buildings. By the time you're done, they'll spread, and Dark Shadow can't do well in bright light. How do you know that? Just trust me. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 stopped in front of the doors. She closed her eyes. Focus. Imagine your cursed energy coursing through your body and your blood. In every vein, give me the energy. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 sped off through the building to save these people. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 worked quickly, grabbing people left and right. Her muscles strained as the weight she bore began to increase. She only carried those who had fallen unconscious. The others who could walk, she quickly instructed to head out of the building into the open where a pro could help them. Once she reached the top, she quickly raced back down and went on to the other building. On and on, she went. She could almost feel the smoke filling her lunges the longer she ran. But she couldn't stop, she couldn't. Wait, girl. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 paused outside of the 7th building. 2 more to go. What is it, miss? She gently dropped a young boy onto the ground, who quickly ran to cling to his sobbing mother. An old lady hobbled up to her. She placed a gentle hand on her forearm. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 flinched as she lowered another unconscious man onto the floor. The smoke had already gotten to him by the time she arrived. You need to rest, dear. You look so pale. We appreciate what you've done for us, but you're just a kid. You're barely older than my grandbaby. It pains me to see you do this. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 gave a lopsided smile, hiding the turmoil in her mind. It's really fine, miss. She quickly grasped the older woman's hands. Can you please get this young man medical attention? I still have to clear out 2 more buildings. After all, I'm an idol now, right? People are looking up to me, asking me to save them. I have to. I'll be going now. Take care. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 didn't wait for the woman's response. Instead, she turned around and sped to the next building. 23 minutes later. Time, 10:45. She had done it. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 thought absent-mindedly. She had managed to clear out 5 whole residential buildings. Around her, people were being treated, or being pulled into ambulances. She herself didn't feel great, to be honest, but it was fine. Kid. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 turned. A woman with dove wings dropped to the ground. Exorcist, right? Geez, did you clear out all those buildings yourself? I heard it from 𝗃𝗁𝗵𝗲. You're really something. The hero had a kind smile. Probably one of the search and rescue pros, from the looks of her quirk. Have we heard from Hawk-sama yet? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 asked, too tired to say anything else. The hero hummed. I don't think. She paused. Well, there's actually a message coming in now. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 quickly flipped to the main channel. Repeat. I repeat, the villain has been secured. Hawk's voice sounded over the comms. The hero in front of 𝗧𝗵𝗲 sighed in relief. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 stared at her, frowning. How naive. The night was barely over, from the sound of Hawk's voice. But He managed to connect to another bomb before he was apprehended. I've sent the location to all heroes available. Please direct all citizens far away from that area. We are estimated that it can have a 100-meter radius dash. The Dove hero's eyes widened. 100 meters. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 wasn't listening. She had pulled out her phone and was checking the location of the bomb. Those coordinates. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 whispered. The 10th building. Wait, there was no way. She glanced around. Several auras of cursed energy rushed to her. She closed her eyes, remembering the residential reports she had read over. In the last 5 buildings, there were 479 residents, and here there were... Her eyes snapped open. Oh no! Her voice trembled. I missed one. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 turned and sped off. As she did, she glanced at her phone once more. It was a timed bomb. 22 minutes. I have time, she gasped. Thank God. 𝗧𝗏𝗵. Exorcist, come in. What are you doing? Stay away from Dath. Sorry, 𝗧𝗏𝗵. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 cut in. Switching off the comm, she ran past a street. 2 more blocks to go, she thought. She quickly sped back up the stairs of the building. Come on, search. Find them, find the last person. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 searched for lingering traces of cursed energy. Fear. That was the key emotion here. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 stopped in front of a barely intact door. The wood charred at the ends. Here goes, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 whispered. She pushed the door open. There was a little girl, sitting, huddled and sniffling as she held a teddy bear to her chest. The arms of the plush cradled another object, a large, boxy object covered in wires. In the center was a blinking timer. The wires wrapped around both the plush and a girl. So this was their plan. A human bomb. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 gave the timer a shaky look. 1 minute. It took me 21 minutes to get here. Ha! 𝗧𝗏𝗵 let out a broken laugh. I'm losing my touch. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 lifted a hand to her comm once more, switching it back on. 5 minutes earlier. Time. 10:40. Hawks was a reasonable person. He prided himself on being level-headed in every situation. But it was moments like this that his unbreakable patience was tested. It wasn't often that there were cases like this. He had wanted to help out the pros in Hosu, too, with the 𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏, but there simply was not enough time. Not only that, but he now had 2 interns to take care of. This, of course, was not the first time that he had taken on young pros, but when he did, it was always few in number, and they were usually work-study students. They had taken on 𝗃𝗁𝗵𝗲 because of the sports festival. And 𝗧𝗏𝗵, I want to make this a world where no one needs saving. A world where there is no need for idols. He was an interesting one, but he never thought he would be so headstrong, so stubborn. He hadn't expected that he would dive head first into danger like that. But meddling when it's none of your business is the essence of being a hero, right? Yo Dove. The hero turned to him. She was using her feathers to patch up a man's bleeding arm. Pro-hero. Dove. She has large wings on her back with detachable feathers, just like hawks. She can't control them, but they can dissolve into a potent healing balm. Hawks. Thank God you're here. We managed to clear out all the buildings. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 cleared out 5 by himself. Hawks squawked at that. 5. Hawks frowned. That was at least 500 residents. And those were the burning buildings, too. Seriously? He should have smoke poisoning from how long he was in there. He narrowed his eyes. I had my suspicions when he cut me off, but... He looked around. Where is he, anyway? One look at the other pro's eyes, and he knew. I'm so sorry, Hawks, but he just ran off about 20 minutes ago. He was so fast, I couldn't stop him, she sighed. She gently lowered the man's arm to the ground, then stood, brushing ash off her costume. Hawks groaned, pinching his nose. Finally, he laughed it off, waving a hand. Teenagers, am I right? Won't do anything you tell them to. Can you at least tell me where he went? Dove gave him a weak smile. It was definitely in the direction of the bomb, sir. I don't know for sure, but he said something like, I missed one. I think he went back to rescue someone. Hawk's eyes widened. Wait, and he went 20 minutes ago? That means there's barely 60 seconds on the clock. Dove nodded sadly. What should we do, Hawks? That would be cutting it close, even for you. Hawks opened his mouth to reply, only to hear his calm crackle to life. He quickly turned away from the crowd, straining his ears as he listened. Exorcist? That you? Where are you? Exorcist? Can you hear me? 𝗧𝗵𝗲? Hawks paused. 𝗧𝗵𝗲's voice was brittle. Red or blue? What? Hawks' eyes widened. Current time, 10:46. Detonation time, 10:47. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 sat in front of the little girl. She smiled. It's going to be okay, girlie. I'll make sure you get out of here safe. Hawks grit his teeth. Suddenly, he understood everything. So, 𝗧𝗵𝗲, red or blue? 𝗧𝗵𝗲 waited. She had taken a sharp shard of asphalt from the broken debris of the wall. He stared at the contraption on the girl's chest. The girl was full-on sobbing now. I'm scared. I don't want to die. Help me dash. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 reached forward, pressing a hand on the girl's head. Don't worry, she muttered. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. On the other side of the line, Hawks scowled, running a hand through his hair. I'm sorry, but I can't be much help. This isn't like those TV shows. All bombs are different. And the villain could have rigged this one so the colors are different. I wish I could say more, but really, it's up to your intuition here. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed dryly. Huh. So, take a guess, right? It was silent. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 sighed. She paused for a moment to think. Well then, she gave the little girl one last look. Then, she lifted her makeshift shears to the wire. I always thought blue was pretty. Sadako Sasaki, hero named Dove, had seen many amazing heroes in her career. She had been around for a while, yes, and had been born around the time of All Might's Bronze Age. He had set the bar for her expectations in a hero. But once in a while, she would meet a hero who she thought was truly amazing, despite her prejudices as an All Might fan. And for the longest time, like most people, All Might was truly the top in her mind. He was so strong, after all. He seemed undefeatable. But with a quirk like hers, more suited for healing than fighting, her dreams of being a hero seemed unreachable. But then he came. Hawks. The wing, pro-hero who never failed to swoop in and save the day. He had a quirk so similar to hers, and for the first time, the stars seemed to be within her reach. She worked hard, attending Shiketsu Academy for her hero training as hard as she could, and then finally crying waterfalls when she finally got her acceptance into Hawk's agency. She was never a fighter, and she never could be, but she never let that hold her back. She got basic defense training but spent most of her time into search and rescue. And, once she had built Haas trust, she occasionally took on a few interns as well. And that was how she nurtured the next generation of heroes, in her own way. She wanted only the best for them. After all, some of them were truly remarkable, as well, including 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Suzume. That boy truly was an enigma. He had shed off the blindfold he had worn at the sports festival, as it had pretty much been revealed to the world it was rendered useless, revealing beautiful, blue luster eyes underneath. She couldn't fathom why he would hide such a thing. And he himself was beautiful. He could have been a model if he didn't want to be a hero. But the reason he was so mysterious was his absence of a quirk. He had said, quite plainly, that he didn't have one. She had remembered how shocked she was, sitting in the stands as the interview played. But it was true. But there was no way to explain it, right? His strength, his determination as he sped off to save others, like a true hero. No, there was. Quirkless or not, that boy was a hero. She was sure of it. And Dove, the winged hero of hope, was never wrong. And when the loud explosion of a timed bomb never came, she couldn't help but smile. Collision bomb, collision bomb. He did it, Hawks. Dove jumped excitedly in front of him, her hands clasped. He stopped the bomb. It's over. Hawks stood in his place, unmoving. No, something was wrong. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had yet to respond. And there was a news helicopter circling the building. Something was very, very wrong. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Exorcist. Are you and the girl all right? I'm coming over dash. No. Hawks stopped, mid-takeoff. I left the girl in front of Building 9. Her mother's name is Yuri Hanamachi. Please find her and return the child to her. I won't be able to do it myself. Hawks frowned. All right, I'll send someone over. But you should rest. You must be tired, Daff. I can't. For a second, Hawks sensed it. The slight break in his voice. The waver of pain, of tired, weary unease. There's another one. His heart stopped. Another villain? He asked carefully. A pause. No. Yes, but no. He's not human. He's no Nomu. Do you need backup? No. Hawks-sama. I know what to do. Whatever you do, do not send backup. No matter what happens. I need to do this myself. Only I can do this. Hawks grit his teeth. Beside him, 𝗬𝗧𝗏 rushed to his side. He had opened his computer, showing a live broadcast from the news helicopter. I will explain later. But I need to take care of this curse first. It's possessed another person. And the line cut off. Collision bomb. She had messed up way too many times. She grit her teeth, leaping around. The top of the building had been blown right off, exposing the curse to the public and the news helicopter she had spotted circling above her. She had formed a whip katana out of her cursed energy and was trying to fend off the curse. The curse had no identifiable shape. It was more like a blob, and it had morphed from the body of the pale-skinned villain from earlier. It had yet to show signs of a cursed technique. 𝗧𝗏 was missing something, and she hated that. Not knowing something. She snarled, skidding back. Her feet knocked pebbles off the side of the building. She knew that if she looked behind her, she would be at least 12 stories in the air. All right, 𝗧𝗏, steel your nerves, just like he taught you. 𝗧𝗏 lifted her katana once more and charged. She spotted it before she felt it. A large, glistening eyeball opened in the black mass of the curse's body. The kanji in its eye read, dream, and then everything went black. Where was she? 𝗧𝗏 glanced around. It was home. There, in the center, surrounded by paper sliding doors, was the cherry blossom tree she loved so much. She used to weave those flowers into little crowns for him. She glanced around. Where was he anyway? Wait, wasn't she supposed to be somewhere before this? Something cold fell from the sky and hit her nose. She blinked, glancing down. There was a thin blanket of snow on the ground. Was it snowing? 𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗏 flinched. She slowly turned around. There, a petite, elegant woman slid open the sliding door. Mother. 𝗧𝗏 hesitated and took a step back. Mother. Her voice came out squeaky, the voice of a petulant 7-year-old child. The woman frowned in response. She got up from her kneeling position and carefully made her way towards her. 𝗧𝗏 balked for a second when she reached out to touch her. No, I don't want to get hit, but instead, she simply sighed and pulled 𝗧𝗏 to her waist. 𝗧𝗏, why are you calling me mother? Are you mad at your mama? 𝗧𝗏's eyes widened. Quickly, she shook her head. She gave a quick peek upwards, where mama was smiling back down at her, a gentle look in her eyes. It was nothing like the blazing fires of hatred she had remembered before. But where those memories? No, mama loved her. Come inside, my darling girl. You'll get cold. 𝗧𝗏 reached up to touch the long strands of her ebony hair. It wasn't short, cut close to her head, like it should be. But why would it be? She had no reason to cut it short. She was a girl. Her mama's little girl. She grinned. Okay, mama. She took her mother's hand and let her lead her up the enigma and into the house. Dimly lit lanterns illuminated the space. Now, you mustn't act so rash now. 𝗧𝗏, mama scolded gently. Today, you are 7 years old. You must act more mature and be sure not to disgrace the family name. 𝗧𝗏 nodded demurely. I will be a good girl, mama. Mama smiled at her, stopping to pat her on the head. Immediately, 𝗧𝗏 relished in the sweet contact, reaching up to gently grasp her mama's hand and closing her eyes as she pet her. I don't mean to scold you, my 𝗧𝗏. It is a happy day after all. She smiled. And someone special is here to see you. 𝗧𝗏 stopped, lowering her hands. She cocked her head to the side. Someone special? Is it you? Mama laughed. No, someone you haven't seen in a long time. 𝗧𝗏 turned to see where they had stopped. In front of the main room, the sliding doors painted with the family emblem in the center. She rapped her knuckles gently against them. "May we please enter?" Inside, a carefree voice sounded. "Come in." 𝗧𝗵𝗲 eyes widened, her mouth opening in a bright smile. Mama opened the door. A figure sat with his back turned to them. As they watched, he set down a bound book on the low table in front of him and swiveled around. He grinned and opened his arms wide. "There you are, bean sprout." 𝗧𝗵𝗲 laughed freely, feeling elated. She ran towards him and threw herself into his arms. "Oni-san, you're back. 𝗧𝗵𝗵. What was he doing?" Hawks grit his teeth as he watched the fight play on live television. "And what was that thing?" That really was no Nomu. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was right. It had no shape and was little more than a mass of flesh. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had been doing so well, he had landed so many hits on the monster. But it only seemed to regenerate. Whatever it was strong. And suddenly, it had sprouted several eyes on its body, of different sizes. And when they appeared, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had fallen, his eyes rolling to the back of his head before he collapsed. The news network had set up a drone that had flown as close to the fight as possible. It even picked up the low gurgling of the creature as it inched closer to 𝗧𝗵𝗲. He didn't look like he was getting up anytime soon. Hawks thought quickly. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 had dropped unconscious when he saw Monster's eyes. Maybe its quirk had something to do with eye contact? If you did, you would be put out of commission. He frowned. He needed to get over there, and fast. He spread his wings and readied himself for flight. This really wasn't ideal. He'd used a good amount of feathers in the fight with the first villain, so he wouldn't be able to fly as fast as he could have. It would take him at least 10 minutes to get there. He glanced at the computer in the IT's shaking hands once more. A large gap had appeared in the middle of the monster. The ends turned upwards, creating an eerie, disoriented smile. The eyes twitched and turned into crescents as the monster began to shake. Strange noises coming from it. Was this 𝗧𝗵𝗲's doing? No. He peered closer. He snarled, feeling his blood pressure rise with his anger. No. It was laughing, horrifically. Laughing at the fallen boy, its prey, as he lay helpless on the floor. It was reveling in his intern's defeat. Hawk saw red. And then, he flew. 𝗧𝗵𝗵. Oni-san? Her big brother turned towards her, his eyebrows raised. His eyes were the same shade of blue as hers, although his were covered behind a pair of round glasses. Her little heart was still beating frantically in her chest, still in disbelief that her big brother, the greatest sorcerer of the century in the whole wide world, had come home for her birthday. Is being a sorcerer hard? Big brother blinked, then leaned back, a finger tapping on his chin. She sat in his lap, staring, wide-eyed up at him, waiting for his answer. Not really. At least for me. I bet it's really scary for other people, but I'm strong, so I'm never scared. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 nodded, pumping her fists in the air. Yes, Oni-san is the strongest. His chest puffed out with pride at his sister's praise. He ruffled her hair playfully, and she whined about him ruining the hairstyle that Mama had painstakingly created. Oh, right. You always get presents on your birthday, right? 𝗧𝗵𝗲's eyes widened even more, if that was possible. Oni-san got me a gift? She asked excitedly. He smirked and nodded. Only the best for 𝗧𝗵𝗲. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 giggled, squirming as she waited in anticipation to receive her brother's gift. Close your eyes. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Geez, settle down. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 obeyed and closed her eyes, holding her hands outstretched. Gently, Big Brother put 2 packages into her hands, one in each palm. Okay, you can open your eyes now. Immediately, 𝗧𝗵𝗲's eyes snapped open, and she squealed, heeling backwards as she rolled around in happiness. Big Brother snickered at her show of immaturity. At that, she quickly regained her composure and carefully set the gifts on the tatami mat on the floor. She picked up the first package. It was a beautiful, pale pink kimono. There were little mountains and wisteria embroidered on it, and pine trees, the family symbol. It even came with a kinchaku pouch with a cute tanuki playing an ivy cover drum embroidered on the peach fabric. It's so pretty, she exclaimed, smiling at her brother. He grinned. "You like it?" She nodded, quickly. "Do you know what the drum means?" 𝗧𝗏 shook her head no. "It's a symbol to ward off war," he said, his grin softening. "I won't always be here to protect you. You'll encounter very scary things, just because you're my sister. I hope that you can bring peace to the people around you." He paused. "Go on. Open the next one," he urged, the solemn atmosphere forgotten. She nodded, taking the other package into her arms. It was wrapped like a little bento box, a fabric with white hairs embroidered all over it. She carefully undid the knot, lifting the top of the box to reveal small, light brown-colored cubes of confectionaries. They were each wrapped in a square of rice paper. She picked one up, lifting it to the light. What are these?" Big Brother leaned forward, helping her unwrap the rice paper from the candy. He popped it into her mouth, and she smiled at the sweetness. "They're called caramel squares. Had them at some carnival a while back, and thought you might like them. They're kind of hard to find in Japan, though, so I made them myself." He grinned proudly. "Oh, is that why they taste burnt?" she thought, cocking her head to the side. A metaphorical arrow pierced Brother through the chest. He keeled over, falling to the floor. "Oniai-san, Oniai-san, wake up, don't die." Brother rolled onto his back, sighing. "𝗧𝗏 is too cute. I'm gonna need to fight off your suitors when you grow older." 𝗧 frowned. "Huh. But I don't want to get older." You don't?" Brother crossed his arms behind his head as he stared at her, slowly straightening from the ground.
"Nah."
She shook her head frantically. "I want to stay small so Oniai-san can always spin me around, like I'm flying." She said this with a straight face. Brother fell over once more. Too cute, he thought. Oniai-san. Oniai-san, do you think I can become a sorcerer?" Big Brother turned towards her. The kimono and box of candies was set on the table behind them. "If I wanted to, do you think I can become a sorcerer? You always said I had a lot of cursed energy. That means I can be strong like you, right? I need to if I want to bring peace to the people." Big Brother grinned. But unlike the others, this one seemed warped, fake. 𝗧 frowned. "Sorry, Bean Sprout.
"But it just can't happen."
He reached forward and pet her head. Unlike before, it lacked the warmth she craved. Her brows furrowed. "You can't become a 𝗔𝗂𝘁 sorcerer. The only reason I became one was because of our family. Go to school, make friends, live a normal life. The elders won't allow it, having another sorcerer running for head of clan. Just let me protect you." He smiled. His gaze behind his glasses was shuttered. 𝗧 nodded slowly, inching closer and cuddling into her brother's chest. She closed her eyes. She savored the warmth for one last moment, and then she stood, abruptly. 𝗧? He stared up at her from where he sat, an elbow propped on his knee. 𝗧's eyes glistened with tears. "This never happened, right?" "Huh." 𝗧 rubbed her eyes. Somewhere in her heart, she knew. She turned and ran, ignoring her brother's shocked shout behind her. His expression lingered in her mind. Her brother would never make a face like that. He was always confident, so sure of himself. That was also how she knew. She ran and ran, until she reached the middle of the bamboo forest at the edge of her family estate. She stopped. Big Brother had never visited her on her 7th birthday. It was her 6th birthday, and then she never saw him again. Mother was never kind to her, no, she was, but not as herself. As 𝗧, her son, the next candidate to be head of the family. The kimono she had worn, for just one day, was almost ripped off her body when her mother saw her. She had received no gifts that year other than scrolls of paper and ink, fit for the studies of the young, dutiful son she was, and one more. She had went to the elders, all by herself, at the age of 7, and requested to change her last name in the family register. She had asked the highest-ranking elder to make it so it could never be changed back. She was no longer from the direct line of inheritance. She was a Suzume now, the surname taken from her mother's side of the family. She panted. The snow underneath her feet was lukewarm. She had to remember. What was she doing? This wasn't real. So what was it? She needed something to ground her. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 fumbled around, finally reaching upwards and pulling a hairpin from her head. Her half-up hairstyle unfurled, and she stared at her hands, pink from the cold, as they held the hairpin. Onyx gemstones forming rabbits on the moon. She needed to remember who she was. She closed her eyes and took one last, deep breath. This was a dream. Oh, how badly she wanted to stay. To stay with her loving big brother and mother, and to be herself, and not have to play dress-up every day for the sake of inheritance. She wanted to stay, but she couldn't. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 lifted the hairpin to her neck. Her hero costume was cold, against her skin. Her name was 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 Suzume, a 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 sorcerer and a hero. She would have the best of both worlds, and right now, she had people to save. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 gave one last determined yell, and drove the hairpin through her neck. Current time, 11 o'clock. Immediately, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲's eyes snapped open. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion. The monster was descending upon her as memories came rushing back. Internship, hawks, villain, fire, a parasitic, cursed spirit. She grit her teeth. Her whip katana had disappeared. She needed something, fast. Quickly she forced her cursed energy out of her, forming a standard katana. She wrapped the blade with more cursed energy, imbuing it with as much power as possible. "How dare you?" she whispered. She still remembered everything that happened in that dream. "How dare you mess with my head?" 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 roared, raising the blade and bringing it down upon the monster. My big brother would never say something like that. After all, he was the one to tell her to become a 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 sorcerer, to do whatever she wanted, and not to let anyone stop her. Even in her dream, he was the one to bring her back to reality. "Die, you damned curse!" 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 panted. It had been a good 5 minutes since she woke up, but it felt like forever. The monster seemed to regenerate every time she cut it. So it had 2 curse techniques, dream sleep and regeneration. She needed to get close enough to exorcise it. But it was smart. It was a 2nd grade for sure, and a strong one at that. It sucked, not being able to see. She had screwed her eyes shut the whole fight, focusing only on its aura of cursed energy to pinpoint its location before attacking again. Help me. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲's eyes snapped open at the cry. Wait, the little girl from earlier. No way. She had made sure that her eyes widened as she stared back at the glistening eye and grinning smile of the monster. She grit her teeth. It can mimic voices too? She snarled as she felt herself falling asleep once more. Collision bomb, collision bomb. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 kept falling asleep. The second she fell into the dream. In the same bamboo forest, she would grab her hairpin and slash her neck once more. But when she woke up, her eyes would open by instinct. She would lock eyes with the spirit and fall asleep again. Sleep, slash. Sleep, slash. She barely had time to react and dodge its attacks. She couldn't fight back, and she was only human. She hated to admit it, but she would get tired eventually. Finally, she managed to wake up and turn her back on the monster, which was dumb, but at least she was still awake. She ran to the edge of the building. She only had a few seconds. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 closed her eyes. She had only made weapons before, with her cursed energy technique. She had been born with an abundance, and she never had to cultivate any for herself. If anything, she could just absorb other people's cursed energy. It was great when preventing cursed spirits from possibly manifesting, but she had never tried forming more intricate objects. She thought back to Momo Yaoyorozu. Her quirk was creation. In order to make things, she needed an exact idea of how the object was made. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲's creation was a bit different. She had only been able to make simple objects, and she could only make grenade shells. She could never replicate the chemical components within the object. But now, she needed to try something a bit different. Once again, she molded her cursed energy, forcing it into the shape she needed. She needed to work faster. She could feel the monster's breath upon her back. Done. Her eyes snapped open, and she quickly turned around, leaping to the side and circling through the air, throwing the makeshift net onto the monster. But this one was special. The strings were actually thin blades, and it was imbued with cursed energy. As it made contact with the monster, it immediately cut into its skin. The more it screeched, and struggled against it, the deeper it cut. 𝗧/𝗵 landed upon the net, carefully balancing herself against it. She lifted a hand, building the cursed energy into her palm. She closed her eyes. To whoever you were before this, I'm really sorry. Please die with no regrets. She brought her hand down onto the monster, burning it away. It screeched in pain, and 𝗧/𝗵 winced as its burning flesh seeped down the edge of the building. Then it was gone. Then it was silent, at least to her. 𝗧/𝗵 could vaguely hear the crowd on the street cheering below her, no doubt witnessing her victory on live TV. But she, at the same time, she couldn't hear them. She had made a mistake. She had looked into its eyes before it died. This was a dream. She hadn't won yet. She needed to wake up to exorcise it before it killed her. Slowly, she brought the katana up, pressing it against her neck. 𝗧/𝗵 closed her eyes as blood trickled down her skin. 3, 2, 1. Plang. 𝗧/𝗵's eyes snapped open. She turned to see Hawks, standing in the middle of the building, while she was at the other edge, a good 15 meters away. He had a strange look on his face. What do you think you're doing? 𝗧/𝗵 looked down at the ground, just once. A foot away was her katana, knocked to the ground by one of Hawk's feathers. He stormed over, grabbing her and shaking her by the shoulders. Answer me. What were you going to do? He looked angry, but at the same time, sad. 𝗧/𝗵 couldn't feel anything. She lifted her hand to her neck. Huh. So I wasn't dreaming after all. She smiled brightly, even though inside, she felt nothing. Kid, what happened to leaving it to the pros? I thought I told you to stay put. 𝗧/𝗵 laughed. I think we've well established I don't listen well to orders. Besides, what was I supposed to do? Let the bomb destroy 2 residential buildings. We're supposed to minimize damage to public areas, right? That would be like more than 200 people left homeless. Hawks grit his teeth. The Hero Commission would have found them temporary living accommodations, he said. You need to prioritize your own safety as well, not just the civilians' dash. But there was a civilian, 𝗧/𝗵 said, cutting in. She didn't care that the news network was probably broadcasting her argument with the hero LL over the internet at that current moment. The little girl. What? Was I supposed to let her die? Besides, that cursed spirit showed up. I couldn't leave after that. It was a special grade. Hawk's brows furrowed. Cursed spirit. 𝗧/𝗵 kept the smile on her face as she explained. It had the ability to put people to sleep if you looked into its eyes. It would show you happy things. A truly beautiful dream. One with everything your heart desires, so that you wouldn't want to wake up, even if you tried. I sure didn't, she added dryly. Hawks could feel something deep in his chest. Oh no, I failed. His hands dropped from her shoulders. I needed to wake myself up, disconnect myself from that reality. And I believe that the best way to do that was by unaliving myself. For all those underage viewers, 𝗧/𝗵 glanced up at the cameras, giving a small wave, paired with another bright smile. Her happy expression completely contrasted with the solemn news she was saying. I fell asleep 176 times within the course of 7 minutes. It all felt like a blur, really. Geez, kid. Hawk's voice cracked. It stopped hurting after the first time, to be honest. After that, I didn't even hesitate to bring a knife to my neck, because I knew that if I died there, then even more people would get hurt. I couldn't let that happen. Eventually, I think I just went numb. See? I'm not even sad. I'm not scared of dying anymore. 𝗧/𝗵 grinned, bringing an index finger to the corners of her mouth, lifting her smile higher. See? I'm still smiling. Hawks dropped down, squatting on his knees. He sighed, holding a hand to his face. 𝗧/𝗵 leaned down, cocking her head. What's wrong, Hawk-sama? Don't call me that. I don't deserve to be called that. I was the one fighting, so there's no need for you to worry, you know? But that was exactly why I was worried. Look you. Hawks wanted to scream. You're scared, you're in pain. I can see it in your eyes, but all you can do is smile. It would be better if you were crying. I'm completely okay, 𝗧/𝗵 said. He said it with determination, as if he was trying to convince both himself and the viewers online. I'm okay. And I hope that those 400 or so people I managed to save dash, he smiled, closing his eyes and rocking on his heels, are able to live happy, peaceful lives from now on. And that today will only be a nightmare, that they'll wake up from once the sun rises in the morning. 𝗧𝗏 opened his eyes. Hawks was standing now. He looked at him, an expression of half pity and half recognition. Hey, Hawk-sama. For the first time during his mini speech, his voice cracked, just a little. One last, small smile. It was all he could muster. I did good, right? I was a hero. Hawk sighed. It was times like this that he needed to smile. It was what everyone looked up to him for. He was never able to perfectly replicate the reactions that All Might got. One look from the man, and you immediately felt reassured, but 𝗧 didn't need that now. Instead, he gave a curt nod. He patted 𝗧 once on the shoulder. You are a hero, kid. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Then, he led the boy down the half-demolished stairs, even though all the while 𝗧 laughed off his mother henning. Seriously, I'm all right. No, you're not, he thought. You're just a kid. You don't deserve to have to go through something like this young. And look at you, he stared at the boy beside him, who was complaining that he was hungry and had missed dinner because of the night's events. Hawks promised to buy the boy curry and ice cream after the hospital staff stationed outside the building checked him out. You fully mastered it. How to lie while wearing a smile on your face. You really are a pro, kid. Those three are the ones that changed the most. All the heads in the classroom turned to Todoroki, Ida, and Deku. 𝗧 listened to their conversation absent-mindedly. He's kind of cool, don't you think? Kaminari said. He was talking about the hero killer stain. As the others quickly reprimanded him, 𝗧 snorted. She could see the appeal of the hero killer. He was right, in a way. A world without false heroes. When she had first heard about heroes, she hadn't been impressed. They had seemed like actors in a stage, using their superpowers to defeat villains, as if humans, even with superpowers, could do that much damage. They weren't dealing with the supernatural. They weren't 𝗔𝗧𝗧𝗔𝗂𝘁 sorcerers, operating in the dark to keep curses, the true plagues of society, in the dark. Sometimes, she felt annoyed that those flashy heroes, who honestly weren't even that strong, got all the appreciation from the people while sorcerers weren't even a thing to most people. It wasn't fair. Right. 𝗧, you had that incident in Kyushu with Tokoyami, right? 𝗧 nodded. He smirked over at that. Yup. Wasn't nearly as widespread as the incident in Hosu, though. Kirishima shook his head frantically. No way. No matter what, you guys still went through a lot too. You especially, Suzume. You're the one who took out that last villain, right? 𝗧 hummed in. Affirmation. Took out a bomb, too. 𝗧 paused, then turned to them. Oh right. That part wasn't shown, was it? Of course it wasn't, Kaminari shrieked. 𝗧 winced. Geez, you really got a pair of lungs, Kaminari. I guess we can count on you to scream for help if needed. Kaminari gave her a strange look. But dude, you sure you're okay? It looks like you took a lot of damage during that fight. Yeah. 𝗧 turned around, to where Deku had ambled up to her desk. I saw the footage from last night. You really went through a lot. 𝗧 raised an eyebrow. So, suddenly, he was a celebrity now? I'm really fine. Not even a scratch on me, see? He lifted his arms. Can't say the same about my mental injuries, though, he mused. Kinda messed with a mind a bit. That cursed spirit. There you are going off about weird things again. Deku laughed nervously. I'm really okay, though. 𝗧 waved it off. After all, you know what they say. He grinned, bringing a peace sign to his eye. Trauma builds character. Deku winced. I don't think anyone says that. 𝗧 collision bomb. Time skip. Final exams have been completed. After doing their practical exams, the class headed back to the classroom. And then, the foreboding topic arose. You know, that wasn't that bad, was it? 𝗧 mused, walking with her arms bent behind her head. Except for Midoriya and Bakugo getting smashed into the ground, injuries were quite minimal. She blinked owlishly at the sky, wincing as the sun burned her retinas. It was hard to get used to, not having her blindfold. "Oh man, why'd you have to remind us? I didn't even pass, I know for sure." Mina groaned. "Besides, you can't say anything, you passed." "Of course I did. This is basically child's play," 𝗧𝗏𝗵 thought. After everything she had been through in Kyushu, in the written exams, she knew all the answers, of course, but she couldn't do too well. It would be too suspicious. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 laughed. "But you know, I think I've already mentally prepared myself for the results." Kaminari grinned. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 gave him a strange look. "You sure? Didn't you rank?" Kaminari shook his head. "I meant I'm ready to fail and spend the rest of the summer in school." He laughed, comical tears contrasting with his happy-go-lucky words. Then, as they re-entered the classroom, talking about going shopping for the summer camp, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 snorted as Kirishima tried to rope Bakugo into going as well. Then, she bumped into someone standing at the doorway. She squinted. Who was this again? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 no, Suzume-san. Iyadaff. Huh. Who are you? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 cocked his head. The boy winced. He rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. "I'm Muramoto. We fought at the sports festival?" "Oh, so that's who this was." Behind her, Bakugo shoved past her into the classroom. He stopped momentarily to frown at Muramoto. "Who the hell is this extra?" Muramoto ignored him, which only seemed to anger him more. Sparks appeared in Bakugo's palms. "Please meet me at the school gate after school. I have something to ask you. That's all, sorry for bothering you." And then he ran off, like a bullet. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 frowned. Huh, could he run that fast at the sports fest? The hell? What would that extra want from you? 𝗧𝗏𝗵 shrugged. "Beats me. Come on, hurry up and let me get to my desk. The bell is ringing soon." Bakugo paused. "Wait, you're seriously gonna listen to that damn extra?" 𝗧𝗏𝗵 nodded, stepping inside. "Might as well. Have nothing else to do after this." 5 minutes later, 𝗧𝗏𝗵 stood, gobsmacked as she stood in front of the school doors. What was happening right now? Behind her, the rest of the Baku squad stood at rapt attention. Even Bakugo seemed stunned. Muramoto repeated his words. "I said, I really, really like you. Please go out with me." 𝗧𝗏𝗵 blinked. "What?" Mina squealed. "Oh my god, it's a BL. Happening right before my eyes. Enemies to lovers trope. In a high school setting? I can't believe it. Maybe you should hold back a bit, Mina." Kirishima mumbled beside her. His face was bright red from secondhand embarrassment, and Bakugo just looked confused. He shoved his way forward. "You? What the hell are you talking about?" Muramoto stared back at him. All fear disappeared from his expression as he stared back at Bakugo with equal determination. "I know I wasn't the most honorable at the sports festival, but what Suzume-san told me after, when I woke up, I felt like my spark had been relit. I'm going to work to be an honorable hero, even though I wasn't one at the sports festival." 𝗧𝗏𝗵 cocked her head. "No way." Muramoto woke up lying on a hospital bed. He felt horrid. Everything hurt. Recovery girl was nowhere in sight, but she had probably already healed him. He could tell with how tired he felt. He groaned, throwing a hand over his face. He had messed up. He had treated Momo Yaoyorozu badly. His popularity in the general education course had got to his head. "Did I make a mistake?" he muttered. Light shuddered in between his fingers. "Should I even be here? Should I just give up being a hero? Yo, what's up with the gloomy talk?" Muramoto flinched, dropping his hand. He turned towards the noise. There, sitting cross-legged with his arms crossed across his chest, was 𝗧𝗏𝗵 Suzume. "What are you doing here?" he asked, voicing his internal question. His mind was racing. "Shouldn't you be preparing for your next fight?" The boy shrugged. I don't need prep time. I'm not tired at all. I mean, look at me. I'm fine." He stared at him. Or at least, his head faced him, so he guessed he was looking at him. "But I came here because of you. Thought you would feel bad about the loss. And I was right." 𝗧𝗏𝗵 leaned forward and flicked his fingers against Muramoto's head. "You shouldn't beat yourself down just because you lost once. You're gonna lose many, many times." He gave him a pointed look. Many times. Muramoto's eye twitched. I get it. Get to the point. 𝗧𝗏 snorted. What I'm saying is, just because you lost once, doesn't mean you have to give up everything. Sure, your head was too far up in the clouds, but as long as you recognize that, then it's fine. Just keep getting stronger, and know what mistakes you made. That's what matters. For example, do you know what your first and most fatal mistake was? Muramoto shook his head, too tired to argue. 𝗧𝗏 grinned. It was even before you stepped out of the ring. You underestimated your opponent, me. That's why you lost. Always fight thinking you'll lose. That's how you'll find the strength to win. 𝗧𝗏 glanced at his wrist, presumably where he had a watch. Huh, look at that. It's almost time. Gotta dip. He stood and turned, giving him a backwards wave. Wait. Muramoto struggled to right himself in the bed. What's your quirk? I thought about it, and is it true you have more than one? 𝗧𝗏 laughed. Nope, don't have one. Muramoto deadpanned. He answered, just like that? Muramoto. 𝗧𝗏 stopped at the doorway. Don't think for a second that you can't be a hero. Just do what you want. He turned and grinned, gently lifting the top of his blindfold. Muramoto's eyes widened. Deep brown met luster blue. 𝗧𝗏 winked, then left the room. Muramoto's heart pounded loudly in his ears. What? He held a fist to his chest. Did he hurt himself there, too? No. This was different. His face flushed red. Oh no. Bro, seriously. She said a few words and the guy fell for her? 𝗧𝗏 sobered. She was never giving another pep talk again. You know what? 𝗧𝗏 mused out loud. You're actually quite cute. She leaned in, squinting at his face. Muramoto turned red as Mina squealed once more behind him. But you're not my type. You're too soft. She shrugged. Sorry. I bet you're a nice guy, though. Don't take this badly. Then, 𝗧𝗏 turned around and skedaddled out of there. And that was the end of that. But not really. When she got to class the next day, all the girls of Class A were huddled around his desk. 𝗧𝗏 walked up to them, dropping his bag by his chair before sitting down. So, y'all mind telling me the tea? 𝗧𝗪𝗀𝗆's disembodied voice sounded as she pumped her hands up and down. That's what we should be asking you. You got asked out by General Education's cutie Muramoto Hisoka? 𝗧𝗏 sighed, sliding across his desk. I'm guessing Mina told you all? Momo nodded sheepishly. I know it's not honorable to be peeking into your personal business, but... Her eyes shone. We couldn't help it. High school romances are just so interesting. So, did you know? It was 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏's turn to speak. What? 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 turned pink. She covered her face with her hands. Why was she embarrassed? She wasn't the one who got confessed to. She's asking if you accepted his offer, Tsu explained. At that, 𝗧𝗏 cocked his head. So, Mina told you everything else but that? Huh. 𝗧𝗏 shook his head. Nope. Turned him down. And then I left. Momo's eyes widened. Just like that. Just like that. Tsu pressed a finger to her chin. But why? She asked. Other than the sports festival, Muramoto is a good student. He's smart, he has good grades, and he's known as the most handsome guy in general education studies. Wait. 𝗧𝗪𝗀𝗆 leaned forward. 𝗧𝗏 wrinkled her nose as 𝗧𝗪𝗀𝗆's invisible hair tickled her nose. She fought the urge to sneeze. Do you not like him because he's, 𝗧𝗏 raised her eyebrows. What? A boy? Nah, I like boys. He's just not my type. The girls collectively squealed, while 𝗧𝗏 sat, deadpanning in the chair in front of them. Wait, so there really is a chance for a BL high school romance to blossom? Mina squeezed her way into the group from behind. The boys in our class actually have a chance. 𝗧𝗏 snorted. Seriously, though? 𝗧𝗏 propped her head on her chin, pulling the loose strands of short hair out of her face. Why are you guys asking me these things? The girls froze. Well, 𝗧𝗪𝗀𝗆 wiggled, a cartoonish blush appearing on her cheeks. 𝗧𝗏 stared. She was like an open book, 𝗧𝗪𝗀𝗆. Don't tell me. 𝗧𝗏 smirked, pointing at them with her free hand. You guys have someone you like. right? You only came to see if Muramoto's confession was effective or not. The girls froze. Even Tsu had a light blush on her cheeks. Finally, it was Momo who broke the silence. She sighed. Was it really that obvious? Another thought popped into her head, and she stared wide-eyed at 𝗧𝗏𝗏. No way. Suzume, you don't know who we like, do you? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 wanted to cackle. Of course I do. She laughed, reveling in their shocked and embarrassed faces. Well, I have an idea at least. Except for you, 𝗎𝗏𝗧𝗏. And Momo. It's kind of obvious who you like. Everybody knows except for the two of you. For example, I hate to put you on the spot like this, Yamamoto, but dash, she giggled. You have the hots for our class ice prince, Todoroki, right? Momo let out a squeak. To be honest, I'm not sure what you see in him. He's pretty, sure, but he's so dense. You could confess right to his face, and I bet he'll just say thank you. Yaoyorozu shook her head frantically. No way. Todoroki-san may not understand things like that, but I don't either. And besides, her expression softened. I like him because of his dedication. He's trying to become his own type of hero, carve his own path instead of taking the easy route his father created. He's strong, unlike me, and dash, she blushed. His looks are definitely a plus. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 rolled her eyes playfully. Guess you'll always be quick to defend the person you like, huh? Mina giggled as Yaoyorozu visibly steamed, fanning herself from embarrassment. But there's other guys in the class worth mentioning too. Actually, other than 𝗵𝗃𝗏, all the guys are pretty hot. Especially, the pinkette nudged her round-cheeked friend in the side. Midoriya's gotten a glow-up over the past little bit, hasn't he? Those new moves of his are straw, and did you see him in training the other day? He has abs. That's like, really hot. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 sighed, staring at his brown-haired friend, as she looked closer and closer to exploding. Ishido, you're killing her, he said absent-mindedly. No. 𝗎𝗏𝗧𝗏. Deku's not wait why. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 reached up and planted a hand on 𝗎𝗏𝗧𝗏's shoulder. She froze. Calm down. We get it. You're too innocent to think about those things. You probably like him for other, more reasonable reasons, I'm sure. 𝗎𝗏𝗧𝗏 blushed and nodded. Save us the rant, though. We don't need you fawning over him as much as we know you will. Also, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 looked at Mina strangely. Girl, I thought you liked Kirishima. Why are you fangirling over Deku? Mina stared back. You're blushing. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 teased. No, I'm not. Mina shrieked. I'm naturally pink, okay? But what about you, Suzume? Tsu asked. Who's your top pick in our class? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 nodded. Oh, I see what you're asking. Well then, it's Katsuki, obviously. Mina frowned. Bakugo? Also, when were you on first-name basis with him? Like, I get that he's hot and all, but his personality is trash. Seriously, what do you see in the guy? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 narrowed her eyes. I meant top pick as a hero, Ishido, not as a partner. She rolled her eyes. And actually, it's because of what he said at the sports festival. What? That's surprising. That's what made a lot of people hate him. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shook her head. Not me. I'm gonna win. That's what he said, right? I admired that. He said that he would win, and he did. He's working hard to become the #1 hero, and at least he's not all talk. Besides, you have to admit, it takes spunk to say something like that in front of that many people. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shrugged. That's it. But wait, Mina cut in once more. Would you consider him? Like, as a partner, this time? Is he your type? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 frowned, staring at Mina suspiciously. She thought for a moment. Maybe? Better than Muramoto. At least I bet he can take a few punches. Get in you seats. That was the girl's signal to leave. But 𝗧𝗏𝗏 caught the look on Mina's face before she turned around. She looked smug, like she won something. That girl was weird. As Aizawa started class, Kaminari leaned over from his seat. Hey, he whispered from a row over. She gave him a sideways glance. What were you and the girls talking about? 𝗧𝗏𝗏 shrugged. You should face the front, Kaminari, she muttered. Huh. Suddenly, A white piece of chalk came shooting from the front of the room, hitting him straight in the head. Kaminari fell backwards in his seat from the impact. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 snickered as Aizawa's eyes glinted. Kaminari, pay attention.